Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here, welcome back to Umineko, Episode 8, Twilight of the Golden Witch. Thank you so much for joining me here on stream. Hey Sai, welcome, congratulations on being first. Hey Ash, good to see you, thank you so much for stopping by the stream. Hope you guys are doing well. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the entire series actually, not just Episode 8. And when we left off, Burn Castell posed to us a riddle. Or a murder mystery, if you will, where we basically were presented a scenario and we had to find the culprit or culprits using a set of rules and clues. Now, who did their homework? I know some people were actually trying to figure this out, and we went through the hints as well, which are optional. And actually, if you went through all the hints, which we did on stream, or if you watched towards the end of the previous stream or the end of the previous video, they actually directly tell you the answer in case you're incredibly stuck. So we do have the answer, but we have yet to present it to Burn to see what actually happens. Hey Blue Moss, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so we have the scenario here, and it's time to present our answer. So if we go to culprit select, so did anyone actually take the time and try to figure out who the culprit was? I know Lork told me that he did, and he actually got pretty close with a couple of hints, which was pretty cool. I think it's such a unique experience. It's such a unique kind of puzzle game, and you don't really get an experience like this again unless you do the Umineko manga Forgery of the Purple Logic that actually gives you another murder mystery that also has purple text, and they actually never revealed the official answer on official media. People actually had to figure it out as a group of fans for the fandom, which is actually pretty cool. So basically at the end of all the hints, they spell it out for you, but you have to go through all the purple text to figure out which ones you can believe and which ones might be false. And so basically, it's actually a really interesting train of thought. So if you've not watched the hints from the previous video or stream, I recommend going back and doing that sometime, just because just seeing how they craft the puzzle here is actually really fascinating. And it's very well thought out, very meticulously created, which I think is really neat. Well, thanks for calling Kirby, I really appreciate it. Now, in my memory, I thought that you had to only select one culprit, but you do have to select all the culprits. So I'll show you what happens when we get it wrong, just so that we see, but nothing really actually happens. So let's say for example I select Battler and say confirm. You just get a witch laugh from Burn and it sends you back here. I'm not sure if you still have, if you have the hints not unlocked, if it plays a hint automatically for you. I thought it did, but this save file has all the hints revealed, so I can't really do that. Okay, so the answer to the riddle is that it's actually 3 culprits. It's Battler and both of his parents. So Battler falsely reported his parents' deaths, and then they snuck out, and then they were able to coordinate some of the murders in a way that made it so that Battler seemed innocent. So let's see what happens when we present this to Burn. Somebody! Is anyone there? Oni-chan! Ah! Ange flew out of the guest house sobbing. Is anyone still alive on this island? When she checked the cousin room earlier, it had been completely empty. However, she remembered that she hadn't seen Battler, George, or Maria's bodies. What she didn't know was whether this meant they were safe, or whether she was about to be reunited with them as corpses. Where are they? Where? Answer me. She dashed around through the rain. Where was she going? Nowhere in particular. The lost little sister dashed around in circles, searching for her brother. Yeah, it's such a specific answer. I guess that's why they make you pick all 3 of the culprits, because otherwise if you're just randomly selecting one culprit out of the 17 at a time, you're gonna get it eventually. But again, if you're really stuck and you read through all the hints, the last hint actually just tells you the answer by then. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's harder for people to brute force, which I think is kind of neat. Drenched with rain and all alone. Oh, hey Patrick, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by. Happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day. Hey Ditsinal, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for stopping by. Eventually, I thought I heard my brother's voice from beyond a bush. No, it wasn't just his voice. I heard George Oni-chan's and Maria One-chan's voices too. I called out the top of my lungs, but they didn't answer. But it's okay now. They're right there. Just on the other side of the fence. I could even faintly see them through the fence. When I ran around the fence, I found myself standing in front of a shed or something. It must be a shed to store tools for the rose garden. The 3 of them were standing in front of the shed. Oni-chan! I cried out, but my voice didn't reach them, even though I yelled so loudly. Something felt very wrong about all this. When people hear a voice, even when they pretend not to have heard it, their bodies tend to show some sign that they've noticed. However, there was no trace of that in the 3 of them. Even though I was screaming so loud, it truly wasn't reaching their ears. The instant I understood that, my dash towards them slowed and came to a halt. Though we appeared to be in the same world, we were actually in different worlds entirely. It was like seeing someone on TV. Or was it more like seeing a ghost? I could see them clearly, but as far as they were concerned, I didn't exist. After all, look. Even if I stand in front of them, their eyes can't see me. If I try and touch them, will I really be able to? What if my hand just went right through? I was so scared at the thought that I could do nothing but stand there in shock, even though I was so close to them. ACB, welcome to the stream. Thanks for dropping by. It's good to see you. Damn it! I don't have a clue anymore. Someone must have snuck in from outside the island after all. And they're massacring the Ushimiya family. No matter how we lock ourselves in, someone always gets killed. It's the work of a witch after all. Everyone, calm down. Let's calm down and think. No one exists on this island except those with a direct relation to the Ushimiya family. That doesn't make sense. After all, we've just seen several murders that'd be impossible for any one of us. Well, that's true. But is it really? Maybe we've just missed something. Missed something? For example, that's right, maybe someone was playing dead. Since we're the only ones on this island, the culprit must be one of us. That means someone we thought was dead was actually faking. But Aniki, that's impossible. Every one of the corpses was checked by someone. There's no way any of them were faking. I don't want to think about it. But what if those corpse inspections were also faked? Huh? It could have gone like this. There were multiple culprits from the start. Then one plays dead, and the other lies and confirms that the first culprit died. Then the culprit who played dead keeps on committing crimes, creating the illusion that some strangers snuck onto the island. Do you still suspect someone in the Ushimiya family of being the culprit? Dr. Nanjo was killed, so it's probably safe to say he isn't a culprit, and we can consider the examinations performed by a doctor like him to be the most reliable. If so, it's fair to say that the people whose death Nanjo checked were almost certainly dead. Who did Nanjo check? Genji's corpse, Kraus and Natsui's corpses, Shannon's corpse, Goda and Kumasawa's corpses. Think back to the beginning and the bodies in the dining hall. Of those 6 victims, Dr. Nanjo only expected Genji-san. But didn't the rest of us check the others? Yes, but Dr. Nanjo didn't actually inspect them himself. What are you talking about? How the hell could our parents have survived after being killed like that? Anyway, what do you think you're saying, George Aniki? Wouldn't that mean one of our parents is the culprit? That's insane. They were killed right at the beginning, and so many of them. How can you accuse our parents of being killers after that? I won't let anyone, not even you, suspect and slander our parents after they've been killed like that. Sorry. I know my mama was really dead. So does that mean George Oni-chan's parents or Badler's parents were the culprits? Let's stop this, Maria-chan. I must have lost it a bit back there. George Oni-chan wouldn't kill Shannon. That's enough! None of us would kill members of our family, right? So I don't think George Oni-chan would lie and say his parents were dead. Not if they were really alive. There's no way George Oni-chan would help out in a crime if Shannon was gonna be killed. Calmly, as though answering a quiz or a riddle, Maria spoke to George. Then with a blank look on her face, she turned to Badler and spoke. Badler, you saw your dad's and mom's corpses, right? Yeah, I saw them. We all saw them, right? Those pitiful, blood-stained... I think you're lying. Huh? Where the hell did that come from? Because that way it all makes sense. Back in the dining hall, Badler's parents weren't dead. One of them killed Aunt Natsumi and Uncle Kraus, locked the room from the inside and waited in that room. The other one took over the murders after that. To break open the closed room of the guest house, they needed to have an accomplice inside. That was Badler. That explains everything. Enough! Stop it, Badler-kun. You too, Maria-chan. Finally, all the pieces fit together in the wolves and sheep puzzle in my head. The culprits are Badler's family. Am I right? Maria's here spitting facts. She's really good at these puzzles, I guess. What are you talking about? Correct. The voice came from behind Ange. She spun around, surprised. There, covered in blood, yet wearing cheery expressions, were Rudolph and Kyrie. Uncle Rudolph! Aunt Kyrie! I'm so glad you're After saying that much, George realized what his words meant, and his face twisted into an expression of shock and horror. Maria wasn't surprised. However, she showed no joy at having her answer proved correct. As for Badler, Ange saw it. That terrible expression, one that she would never forget as long as she lived. It was a demon's smile. A hideous demon that she'd never see again twisted its face in a foul grin, and the truly horrible thing was that she saw it on her brother's face. Rudolph and Kyrie lifted up the guns they'd been holding behind them. The barrels pointed at the foreheads of George, who staggered backwards, and Maria, who grinned as though she was beyond caring what happened next. There was a flash of lightning and a crack of thunder. Nothing more could be heard. Then, as George and Maria were snapped around by that roar, the strings holding them were snipped. The two dolls fell into puddles with a splash and stopped moving. Dad. Mom. All this occurred right in front of Ange's eyes. Ange, who stood stunned beside them, wasn't visible to their eyes. Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about the manga is that they do such a good job of drawing everyone's, like, crazy faces. Like, the anime does an okay job, but the manga is really good. Like, the visual novel version gives everyone crazy faces, but they're not as good as the manga ones. The manga ones are really good. They'll give you nightmares. They guffawed, overcome with laughter. Then, right in front of Ange, they started joking and complimenting each other on their kills so far. The three hideous faces, the faces of her family, made Ange want to cry and vomit at the same time, and she felt as though she would suffocate. Ange dashed away, covering her mouth. She wanted to escape the disgusting laughter coming from her beloved family as soon as possible. Then she slipped and fell face down in a puddle of mud. She didn't try to get up. In fact, she instead chose to cover her ears to block out the disgusting laughter that she could still hear. As she did, from the shadows of the fences and the bushes in this inky black rose garden, several dark things slipped into sight. Huh? Ange looked around in surprise to see eerie black shapes appearing from all over the garden, and slowly surrounding her. It was a crowd of people with goat heads. Their outfits were all different. Some wore suits, while others dressed casually. However, all of them were covered with darkness, and all of them had goat heads. Ange, bewildered, accidentally let her hands fall from her ears. By now, she couldn't hear that disgusting laughter. However, in their place, she could hear the words spoken by the goats. Kiri and Rudolph are the culprits. Battler is the culprit. Battler is the culprit. Battler culprit theory. Battler's family culprit theory. As the goats continued to mumble in eerie voices, they surrounded Ange and began to draw nearer. They all pressed around her, each of them naming Ange's family as the culprits. Yeah, I like how the PS3 version of this game makes the goats like super buff and ripped. Like the original visual novel and the MangaGamer version all have like slender goats, like they're all like, they have the body of Genji basically. But in this version it's like, let's make them all ripped. First, everyone joined in on the Eva culprit theory. The sole survivor from Rokunjima got almost all the wealth to herself, so such a theory was only natural. Why was Ushime Eva the only one who escaped to Kuodorian? And why did she refuse so stubbornly to talk about what happened that day? It was decided that the Eva culprit theory fit all the facts. However, when Eva died of illness, and people learned that all the vast wealth she had created by unscrupulous means would go to Ange, public opinion, or rather, the forgers created and spread a new culprit theory. This was the Rudolph's family culprit theory. If it was normal for everyone to come to the family conferences, why was Ange the only one who didn't come this time? Did Rudolph's family have some reason for not bringing the young Ange with them? They did take Battler, but he wasn't Kirie's son. Then, when it was revealed in some magazines that Kirie's family had close ties to a massive gangster organization, all eyes suddenly gathered on Kirie herself. The truth of how Rudolph had made a killing out of fraudulent business practices was also laid bare, and almost immediately the culprit became thought of as the most suspicious people on the island. Hideyoshi and Ava's company might have been heavy-handed at times, but at least it operated within the law. However, the more Rudolph's company was investigated, the more dirt was dug up. Furthermore, testimony was dug up about various scandals involving party tickets from the time Rudolph and Kirie were students, and it was clear they were far more suspicious than Ava's family. And so in a flash, the Rudolph's family culprit theory expelled the other conspiracy theories, including the Ava culprit theory, and reigned as the greatest of them all. It wasn't really because it was more plausible than the Ava culprit theory. They'd just gotten bored of the old theory and wanted a new sensation. The goats seemed to bend and undulate. The sky rapidly turned white, becoming a ceiling lit by fluorescent lamps. The goats had changed completely, becoming the shapes of girls, wearing goat masks. All the girls were wearing the same clothes. It was a uniform. The uniform of St. Lucia Academy. Did you hear? The real culprits were Rudolph and Kirie. I heard. Yeah, I knew there was something suspicious about them leaving that kid behind. Didn't Ushime Eva say herself she was poisoned to death? Isn't it obvious who's behind that? Must be nice for her. She gets her whole family's riches all to herself, right? I always knew the Rudolph's family culprit theory was right. I always thought there was something wrong with Ushimiya-san. Rudolph and Kiria are the culprits. Isn't Badler a culprit too? Rudolph's family culprit theory. Rudolph and Kiria are the killers. They tried to get the family wealth all to themselves, but Ava killed them back and they failed. But in the end, Ushimi Ange gets everything anyway, doesn't she? Rudolph and Kiria are the culprits, of course. Rudolph's family culprit theory. Rudolph and Kiria and Badler are the culprits. Rudolph and Kiria and Badler are the culprits. They're saying your family were the culprits, Ushimiya-san. What do you think of that? Hey, what do you think? But in the end, you get all the family wealth to yourself, don't you? Even at the end, Ushime Eva never told you anything, right? I always knew that girl was suspicious. This also explains why Eva hated you so much. Hey, say something, tell us what you think. She really is a creepy kid, isn't she? Can't you at least tell us what you think of this theory, creep? A blade of air swept over me as I crouched down, holding my head. In a flash, the illusion of female students with goat heads that surrounded me shattered. I was curled up in a puddle in the rainy rose garden, surrounded by goats. But then those goats were also sliced in half. The upper halves slid to the side. It was like seeing a master swordsman slicing through a stick of bamboo. This way! The voice came from that black cat. The black cat with the bell that guided me here. Incredible that it can talk. But that doesn't matter now. I dashed after it. The goats shrank back. A hole opened up in the encirclement. The black cat dashed through it. As I hurried through it, the goats began to chase after me. Countless heavy footsteps thundered behind us. Where are we running to, Mr. Cat? The cat ignored my stupid question. Where are we running to? It's obvious. As far as we can make it. However, there was an unbelievable number of goats. It wasn't just the group chasing us. There were probably goats hiding throughout the rose garden, and everywhere we went, a group of them would appear and block our path. Each time we bumped into them, we ran down a different path in this maze of a rose garden. So I didn't even know which direction we were running anymore. It couldn't be. We aren't running around in circles inside a massive crowd of goats, are we? When we ran into the arbor once more, I learned that my fears were justified. The 4 paths that led from the arbor were all blocked by a crowd of goats. Of course, the path we had come down was also blocked by our pursuers. There was nowhere to go and nowhere to run to. We were finally trapped. Mr. Cat, what should we do? We're surrounded! The black cat glared at the goats that surround us, standing on guard. It's all over for us. In that moment, I found myself floating in the air. A massive arm, large enough to crush my entire head, had grabbed my collar from behind. Before I could even think to cry out, I saw, right in front of my face, a pair of strangely glowing red eyes and a massive mouth with jagged teeth and a foul breath. The mouth opened wide, and as though it was a separate creature, a bizarre tongue stuck itself out. Then it spat words at me. Rudolph, Kirie, and Badler are the culprits. Rudolph and Kirie played dead, and Badler lied when he inspected them. Then one of the parents carried out the murders up until the second twilight and hid under the bed in Natsui's room. Badler killed Shannon and then assisted in the murders in the guest house. The other parent carried out the guest house murders. This is the truth. Then, that gaping, smelly mouth slowly began to close over Ange's head. Counter. It's possible to form a logical theory other than the Rudolph's family culprit theory. A blue flash sliced off the top of the mouth that was trying to eat Angie's head, sending it flying. It fell into a puddle, along with the goat that was still grasping my collar, though there was nothing left of it above its chin. Without any hesitation, the goats stretched out their thick arms as though they'd been given a second chance to snatch this prey for themselves, and they rushed towards me. All of them spoke in unison. Anything besides the Rudolph's family culprit theory would be impossible. Absolutely impossible. It's possible to form a logical explanation other than the Rudolph's family culprit theory. For example, a theory with George's family as the culprits is possible. A red flash and a blue line became blades of wind that passed over my head, doubly slicing the arms of a goat that tried to pick me up. I think the next goats dashed not towards me, but towards the black cat that was protecting me from behind. As I sat on my butt, staring up towards the rainy night sky, the massive goats were in the air right above me, fighting the black cats. Or someone. A George's family culprit theory is impossible. George can't kill Shannon, so he can't be a culprit, and he can't lie when checking corpses. No, it is possible. A culprit is defined as one who murders. No one ever said they have to murder a character who appears in the story. In other words, if George committed murder outside the island, sometime before this crime, he would be a culprit without killing anyone on the island, and it would be possible for him to lie. The deep red curves bit into the goat. Its massive body was knocked into the air, became about 7 logs of flesh, and was thrown into the rose bushes. This time, the terrible force of the attack shocked the goats. They faltered, shook, stepped back. Finally, I understood. That red slice. It had come from a weapon that could draw red slashes. No, it also drew blue slashes just a second ago. It was a massive scythe that could speak both types of truth, red and blue at will. I looked up at the sky, then let my head hang down backwards. There was no black cat there. It was a girl, holding a large scythe. How's that? This level of reasoning is possible for Frudo Erica. When the crowd of goats recognized the girl who called herself Erica, a stir passed through it. It was clear that this person had enough of a reputation to make them tremble. Erica lifted me up, flew into the air and landed on top of the arbor. Then she let go of me, and still wielding her scythe, made an elegant curtsy to the crowd of goats surrounding us. This is probably the first time most of you have met me. Allow me to introduce myself. Pleased to meet you, everyone. I'm Frudo Erica, the detective. If you're one of those blockheads who can only think of the Rudolph's family culprit theory, stand down. If anyone thinks they can counter my argument, please feel free. Of course, I won't be holding back either. The goats all howled at once. It seemed to be a cry of shock, of fear, or possibly of awe. The goats surrounded the arbor, chattering but not moving any closer. None of them had the courage to stand against this detective, this witch of truth called Frudo Erica. Good grief. All those thousands, and this is the best you can do? None of you has the courage to fight Frudo Erica in a battle of words. Too bad. Let's put an end to this. Then again, I, Frudo Erica, don't have enough spare time to counter all you blockheads one by one. I'll let her clean up the rest. You're up. Hey Lork, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by. Yep, the detective is back. And we're all very happy to see her, right? Although she seems to be helping Ange right now, so I guess... good? When Erika cried out, red cracks opened in the dark night sky. It looked like the spider-shaped fissures or spider-web-shaped fissures that appear when a glass window has been struck hard. Or was it more like a blood-red spider web? A laugh rang out through the spiderweb-covered world. A witch's laugh. It sounded somehow familiar to Ange. And there, standing on the spiderweb and gazing down on the goats, who must have looked like trapped bugs, was the witch. You forgot me, and you call him the ruler of Rokkenjima? You forget me, and you think Rudolph is the culprit? It was a witch who had hidden inside of Ava. A witch of the future, who would one day call herself the Endless Witch after the cat box closed over this world. Who forgets Ava, Beatrice, and calls themselves the murder of Rokkenjima? How impertinent! On this island, who lives and who dies is totally up to me. All the wealth and gold is mine. Everything about October 5th, 4th and 5th in 1986 is mine to do with as I please. It all belongs to me, Ava Beatrice. Ava swung her one-winged staff at the crowd of foolish goats beneath her, proclaiming their deaths. The ceiling of spiderwebs that covered the heavens plummeted, and more spiderwebs seeped out of the ground at the goats' feet. Then the webs from above and below met, and thousands upon thousands of goats were caught in their grasp. Hey Hikaru, welcome to the stream, thanks for stopping by. You hope this episode goes absolutely crazy? Don't you worry, my friend, it goes very crazy. Then as Ava swung her staff, it swirled, around and around like an egg yolk being mixed in a bowl. Eventually it was all packed into a massive blood-red goo. Yeah, heartbreaking. The worst people you know are actually helping out. The moans of goats drifted out from inside. That entire crowd had been compressed into a meatball a few meters across. So you morons doubt that I'm the culprit? Reaching the Ava culprit theory and giving up theirs is good enough for the likes of you. If only you just get crushed and disappear. Squelch. No other word could do that sound justice. After sucking in all the goats, the spiderweb ball vanished into the thin air with a squelch. After that, there wasn't even a trace left. The dark rose garden lay there without any sound but that of the falling rain. Ava drifted down from the sky. Your aunt will always be on your side, Ange-chan. I'll never let anyone insult your family. Aunt Ava. I knew I should be grateful, and yet it really wasn't easy for me to believe that Aunt Ava was my ally. Ava realized that too. Don't worry. I'm not doing this because I want to be thanked. But I'll always be on your side. See you later. She giggled, spun around, and vanished. Now that she had already left, I started to regret not even saying a thank you. So I figured I should at least thank the other person who had saved me. Thanks for saving me. Who are you? I already knew her name. What I was really asking was why she had saved me. I'm Furuto Erika, the detective, and I'm also a witch. A witch? A witch of truth. One who searches for the single truth. And so are you, right? Those 2 days, October 4th and 5th, 1986. I've been so desperate to know what happened that I took a step off the roof of that skyscraper, drifted through several witch games and fragment worlds, and abandoned myself to this long journey with no rewards. All I want is to know what happened that day. All I want is the single truth of that day. Searching for something like that is what makes you a witch of truth. So, you're just the same as me. That's why I came to save you. I want to know. Just what happened on that day. No one will tell me. No one knows. But I know something happened that day. I'd give up anything to learn what that was. That's the one thing I need to know no matter what, even if it kills me. So tell me. You know, don't you? You know what happened on this island, right? Does a witch of truth expect to be given the truth? If I told you that so-and-so was the truth, would you really just accept whatever I said? No, I wouldn't. What did Battler-san show you today? Today, Oni-chan showed me a bizarre Halloween party. It may have been heartwarming and a lot of fun, but it definitely wasn't the truth. Yeah, say Ange, do you want to watch over 130 hours worth of streams to get the truth? Because I can arrange that. Didn't Battler-san show you something and say it was the truth? It's not. That couldn't be the truth. Sometimes other people try to mislead us by claiming that they know the truth. But a real witch of truth must continue to pursue the single truth without being led astray. That's why you can't accept the fake truth that Battler-san's trying to force on you. You care about finding the one real truth more than anything. Yeah. Oni-chan is trying to confuse me. I felt that this whole time. Even though he knows everything about what happened that day, he won't tell me anything at all. How is he any different from Aunt Ava, who mocked me and refused to tell me anything, even until the very moment of her death? Why won't Oni-chan tell me? Why? Why won't he tell me? The dam inside my heart burst. Why won't Oni-chan tell me what really happened? Why? Why? I'm the only one who doesn't know. No one's telling me the truth. Tell me what happened on that day, Oni-chan. Oni-chan. I cried out at the rainy night sky. Hot tears poured from my eyes, but they were covered by the cold rain that beat against me, so no one other than me would know that they were tears. No one would know my pain and sadness. I'm always the only one alone. All alone. Someone tell me what happened on that day. No one can tell you. After all, you can only find the truth if you look for yourself. Where is the truth? How can I find it? Everyone's hiding it. They won't tell me. I'll find it myself. So please, just tell me where the truth is hidden. Very well. I can tell you. As that voice rang out, the world bent and swirled. After blinking several times, I realized that the world had become a sea of stars. No, that's not quite right. There are stars up there in the sky, but those lights below me aren't stars. They're lights from building windows, street lights, car lights. I was floating in the dark sky, over a city lined with skyscrapers. I can't tell you what the truth is. However, if it's a question of how the truth can be reached, I can show you the way. You. Various bad memories are jumping out at me from the back of my mind. That's right. I was chained in place in that strange theater and forced to watch a repulsive fragment where Mom and Dad committed murder. I never said that was the truth. But I heard what you said with the red. I'll say it for you, that this is all truth. You yelled out and interrupted, stopping me from saying any more. I was about to say that this is all truth isn't necessarily so. Just how far are you willing to go to mock me? I apologize, but I did want to test you. Test me how? I wanted to see if you're ready to accept the truth, no matter what it may be. The truth can betray you sometimes. In fact, there are times when it shows itself as the thing you desire least. That fragment I showed you was probably the worst one you could possibly imagine. However, if you lack the strength and courage to withstand even something like that, then you aren't fit to reach the truth. I have no comeback. Finding the truth is my goal. I just want to know what happened on that island on that day. I don't like to think that I only want to hear what I want to hear. Burn-Castell gaslighting Ange. Yeah, Ange got burn controlled. Am I really prepared to face the bloody, unbearable truth that probably awaits me? If I find the truth, it'll mean having to look straight at my family's tragic final moments and accepting them as they are. And if I do accept that, it means abandoning my faint hope for a convenient miracle. The idea that one of them might have survived somehow, and might return even though 12 years have passed. I know a miracle like that would be completely ridiculous, but if I'm honest with myself, I have to admit that I've been comforted by that faint hope these past 12 years. I want to know the truth, but I want one of them to come back. Those two wishes contradict each other. By learning the truth, I'll be forced to accept that no one's coming home. The truth is always cruel. At times, it can even cut down your hopes. Most of the time, humans don't realize the costs of learning the truth. I simply want to see if you have the necessary resolve. I must choose between my two contradicting wishes. Will I find the truth and abandon my optimistic hopes for my family's return? Or will I give up on the truth and keep waiting for the family that will never return for all eternity? Will I freeze up and let myself be fooled by that childish illusion my brother made for me? Tell me, Ange, are you truly determined to learn the truth? I am. And your resolve will not falter. It won't. After hearing my immediate reply, Burn-Castell stared at me. Are those expressionless eyes of hers measuring my resolve? Now that my brother is covering up the truth even after becoming Game Master, the only thing I can rely on in my search for the truth is a path that Burn-Castell can show me. Deep in your eyes, I see the glint of one who seeks the truth. Will you tell me? Will you show me the way that leads to the truth? Yes, I'll guide you. Did you forget, Ange? I'm your guardian, right? How long has it been since I last heard Burn-Castell use that word? Yes, I haven't heard it since the very beginning, when I met her in this future world and became a witch, with her as my guardian. That's when I became the Beatrice of 1998, the one who defeats the Beatrice of 1986. You are the Beatrice of 1998. Ange, Beatrice. I became your guardian and recognized you as a witch. However, you aren't an endless witch like Bito. A witch of truth. That's right. You're like Erica, a witch of truth who will seek the single truth undeceived by any illusions. I guess the witch of truth, Ange Beatrice, has the power to reach the single truth. Yes. However, up until now, you've been unable to use this power. Do you know why? I do now. Even though I searched for the truth, I unconsciously resisted learning the truth. Exactly. Finding the truth was your goal, but at the same time you were unconsciously afraid that learning the truth would mean losing that miracle of your family coming back. So you didn't have what it took to stretch your hand out to the single truth. You're completely right. have to admit that I was naive. I must admit it. My entire family is dead. Now that I've acknowledged it, I must expose why they died and who was behind it. Thanks. The fragment you showed me in that dark theater was there to open my eyes. Many, many games have gone by, waiting for you to become a true Witch of Truth. But I think there was a purpose to it all. After all, now in this final game, you really have become a Witch of Truth. Tell me, what happened on that island that day? I won't ask you to tell me directly, so guide me. What can I do to reach the truth? It's a bit too chilly here. Let's move. To where? To a place better for drinking tea. A massive applause filled the hall. It was an applause in honor of a good fight. An applause in honor of Bernkastel. Yes, Lady Bernkastel's game was another splendid one. We're gonna reveal her game board to everyone here, so have a go at it. It's pretty awesome. But she solved it in the end all the same. A game that no one can solve isn't a game. The main point is whether it was fun or not. It's fun. I guarantee it's quality. Same here. At first I thought there was no way anyone could solve it, but the way you can use one confirmed purple statement after another to narrow down the suspects made for a great puzzle. Come everyone, gather, gather. Just what sort of game is Lady Bernkastel's mystery? That's for you to find out for yourselves. Objects resembling chessboards were set out on several tables. Crowds gathered around each, looking down with interest. Oh, it's like a logic puzzle. Hey Aru, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by, good to see you. Quite an orthodox one, don't you think? So this is what a witch's game is like. Everyone's like, wow, this is such a cool puzzle. Look at the story about us all dying. Isn't that fantastic? Looking at it like this, it's just a game. But for the pieces, it's a massive series of crimes. Indeed it is. It would not do to waste such a rare gift from Lady Bernkastel. Let us take this opportunity to enjoy ourselves. Still, this is a tough one. It almost makes you wonder if it was made to be solvable, doesn't it? If you don't start by believing that it's made to be solvable, you won't get anywhere. The battle of wits doesn't begin until you trust the questioner and believe it can be solved. Yeah, I guess they're all used to it by this point. Kraus, wait, why is my piece just a pawn? I should be the king. And we guarantee that it is. Come on, have a go at it. With Balor's encouragement, discussions over Bernkastel's mystery game began at each table. The mix of humans and illusions in heated debate was truly a sight to behold. Vito and Bernkastel sat in a chair far off from the discussions. Would you like some tea? Any kind of calming black tea for me. With milk if you don't mind. As you wish. Is there anything you need, Lady Bernkastel? Please add some dried plums to some black tea. That's the trick to making terrible tea drinkable. Come now, don't sulk. We're honestly complimenting your game for being such a fun one. Ito, who had emerged victorious in the game Bernkastel had put all her heart into, was in extremely high spirits. I'm not sulking. My face just looks this way. When I managed to spot Burn's own kind of warmth in that expression, I felt like I climbed to the pitch-black top of a snowy mountain to find a beautiful star. Well, sorry for having an eternally frosty face. how difficult it is to compliment Lady Burncastel. No matter what you say, she always takes it in a bad way. That's okay. She's the type who'll keep thinking about it for hours later on. Oh, the type that lies in bed relishing it while hugging her pillow. Yep, that's Burn for you. Vito and Lambda Delta giggled together. Burncastel shrugged and looked away. Seriously though, that really was a fun game with a twist. You think so? Thank you. You could have made it unsolvable, but you still made it to be solved. You couldn't have done that unless you planned on playing fair and enjoying the game. I like games where I win no matter what. Games that I might lose are just a pain. Later, I'd like to switch sides and try another one. I'll make a puzzle and we'll see if you can solve it. A game for you to win against me. Of course, I'll use all the know-how I picked up in my fights with Vito to make it super hard. I'm not giving up my winning streak that easily. Both you and Vito have such an interesting way of thinking. How's that? The game is just a means to decide who wins and who loses, right? When you create one, your own victory should be your highest priority. So why would you go to all the trouble of making a game you might lose? What fun is there in a game you always win? That's not even a game. Victory and defeat. It's fun because you're taking part in a fair competition. Balance between these two outcomes. A game isn't a fight. It's communication. You have to enjoy the means. And if you manage to win in the end, well, that's just an added bonus. Finally, I clearly understand the difference between how all of you think and how I think. What do you mean? For you, this is communication. It isn't for me. The world you live in must be pretty savage. And what about you? Wasn't it the same for you until you understood Vito's game? An eternal game is eternal torture. Have you already completely forgotten about that pain you suffered? There were days I did think that, but now it's all been resolved. I won't complain about stuff that's in the past. I'm impartial, you might say. That is the critical difference between you and me, I think. Your eternal torture was something you could laugh off and forget. Mine wasn't nearly so trivial. That's all there is to it. I don't know your history. It sounds like you had it rough. To think I'm getting sympathy from a mere former piece. I must be getting old. Burncastel, sipping the black tea that Genji had brought her, gazed up at the ceiling with a faraway look. Valor may not have known her history, but even he was able to understand a bit of how she felt. Are you being tortured by someone right now? Are you kidding? I'm as free as can be. I'm not bound by anyone's shackles. Then that's a good thing, isn't it? At least things are better for you now. True. It's much better now than it once was. Though I am on a long endless journey to escape from boredom. Then at the very least, us meeting here should have been a good thing for you. Indeed. Even the taste of defeat can keep my boredom at bay somewhat. No. Fowler shook his head and laughed. We're friends who've enjoyed fighting in a fair game. So? If your days are filled with nothing but running away from boredom, feel free to drop by our place every now and then. We'd love to welcome a friend, and we'll be able to set up everything needed to help a friend escape from boredom. You think you can prepare a welcome interesting enough to help me, the great Burncastel, escape boredom for even a single night? I do. That's what it means to be a friend. We won tonight's game, so the next time you come, we'll switch sides. This time, we'll entertain you with one of our games. Of course, we don't intend to let you win easily. We'll challenge you to a devilishly twisted logic game. It won't be something you can solve in a night. It'll be good enough to make you stay for months racking your brains over it. You would entertain me, the great Kirostyle, as a friend. Yeah, we would. Huh. After talking with you, even this dried plum tea is starting to taste sickly sweet. What a pain. I heard from Bito. Sounds like this dried plum tea stuff is one of your favorites. Next time we'll throw in some high-class dried plums covered in gold leaf, so make sure you come again. If you really plan to do that, try finding some better tea to start with. I'll never feel like coming again if you keep serving tea like this. Oh, come on. I guess the tea you're used to drinking is pretty damn high class. Next time, why don't you invite us somewhere where we can drink some of that? Me? Invite you over? It's only fair, right? We've treated you, now it's your turn. Yes, it would only be fair. So let's have the game be fair too. Let's switch sides and start a new game. I'm looking forward to it. We won this time, but who knows about the next? That's some confidence you have there. And yet I'm afraid you're mistaken on one point. What's that? My game isn't over yet. I wonder who'll win in the end. After taking one more sip of her black tea, Kirostyle set her cup on the table wearing a thin smile. The tea here's far too sweet. It was a mistake to have any. Thank you, Genji. Take this away, please. As you wish. Kirostyle asks for her tea to be taken away after taking only 2 sips. Adler smiles, realizing that this was just Burn's way of being shy. Is that what you really think, Badler? Is that what you really think, Badler? Badler. Why are you smiling with such a foolish, optimistic face? Really think this final game will be nothing but a happy epilogue? Then I'll have to invite you all to a proper game for bringing this tale to a close. Badler. You forget too easily. Don't you remember in whose hands lie the key to this final game? The inside of my nose itched. I've never regained consciousness to a smell before. Slowly, I opened my eyes. Wait, when did I lose consciousness in the first place? I don't remember going to sleep or falling unconscious. That's right. Kirostyle invited me to come to a place better for drinking tea. That's when my memory gets hazy. And since the smell of black tea is what woke me up. Where am I? Aurora's study. I hate to admit it, but her taste in tea really is excellent. I was sitting on what appeared to be a sofa in the dimly lit study. Kirostyle sat across from me, and right before my eyes was a beautiful cup filled with hot, steaming tea. Isn't this place... I remembered. I've been here before. Wasn't it... How pleasant it is to see you again, child of man. Yes, that voice. Just hearing it brings back memories. Long time no see, my master. I didn't think I would get the chance to welcome you into my study again. To think that this game of yours is still continuing. It won't be continuing much longer. This is the end, the true final game. This was a study of Featherine Augustus Aurora, the majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating. Once in the past, I was summoned by her in order to be her reader, her Miko. Don't tell me you want me to read again. I wasn't the one who called you here. My Miko brought the two of us together. Why? Isn't it obvious? To show you the path that leads to the truth. You'll show me the way, Featherine. Well, I am the Witch of Theater going, though I dislike interfering with the actors on the stage. So, would you rather watch Badler's boring play, or my exciting one that manipulates the branching paths of fate? I know you can't stand even a minute of boredom. As Featherine rocked her rocking chair, she looked up at the ceiling and chuckled. She clearly holds some key to the truth I seek. And yet, you are literally the one holding the key. I can do nothing but tell you where to find the keyhole, child of man. I don't remember saying anything out loud, but Featherine answered my question as though I had. Come to think of it, that's right. Featherine can read the thoughts of a mere child of man like me as easily as she can hear me speak. Well, I guess that'll help us get to the point quicker. Oni-chan did give me this key, but then he just said something about how I'd know how to use it when the time was right. He didn't say a word about what it was used for. Do you two know? What is this key for? Oni-chan said it was something very precious. Explain, my Miko. No way. You explain. You demand that your master explain? You've got to go on stage every now and then. Otherwise you'll just get senile all the faster. My. And yet, I just enjoyed some long overdue time on the stage when Ange was the reader, which should last me several centuries at least. Tell me, what is this key? A physical manifestation of a decision you are to make. This tale, this game, will end when you are asked to make a certain decision. What you hold there is the act of your decision embodied in the form of a key. A physical manifestation of my decision. Exactly. Badler was probably planning to end it by putting you in front of two doors, both of which can be opened by that key. Then he would ask you to choose which door to open. He must have told you that much, right? He didn't tell me anything at all. He just kept saying things like, you'll know when the time comes. No one will tell me anything, not Oni-chan, not anyone. Badler probably wants to respect your right to make a decision of your own free will. But Ange, you should have at least started to figure it out by now, right? Right. Shinigami bursts in the study. It's a solution key. Just barfs it back out. Figure out what? There's an answer Badler wants you to choose, isn't there? Those words made my heart jump in my chest. It was what I'd been thinking. Oni-chan is clearly trying to trick me with a vague tale, almost like a daydream. That'll take me even farther away from the truth. At the 1986 family conference, everyone had a wonderful time as they faded away. Everyone is smiling down on you from heaven, so you don't need to feel alone even in 1998. So give it your all and live on by yourself. I've clearly sensed Oni-chan's desire to end it like that. Every time I ask him about it, he dodges the issue and says something about how the decision will be mine in the end. Also, I like how they all went back to partying without Ange, even though the deal was that Burn Castell give Ange back. That's right. It may appear as though Badler's giving you a fair choice, but he's actually scheming to get you to choose a certain one of those two answers. You've already seen the farce of a tale that he's using to do that, right? That bizarre Halloween party, with everyone acting so strange and friendly that it was almost sickening. I've already seen more than enough of that tale, so sickly sweet it makes me want to vomit. Where Ushime Kinzo showered me with affection, where his children swore to support each other, where everyone was filled with happiness and hope. He's trying to trick me with those chummy scenes so he can keep me away from the truth. He's such a coward. True, it might be easy to call him a coward from your perspective. But remember, If you are a player in this game, and if Battler is the game master, what does that imply? In the past, Battler was a player, and Bito was the game master. And they fought each other for their own respective truths. So what's happening this time? I'm a player, and Oni-chan's the game master. Could it be that I've misunderstood everything from the very beginning? Oni-chan said he'd tell me what happened on that day, so I assumed that following him meant I'd learn everything. Isn't that the same as, say, Oni-chan accepting everything Bito said about the crimes being the work of a witch? What a stupid mistake I've been making. So this game has always been a fight between me and Oni-chan. I'm surprised you joined in without realizing that. Battler really is sly. He quickly started up the final game without letting you realize that simple fact. Well, it was the same back in Bito's games. Battler was drawn into her game before he knew what was happening. Before he even knew how to fight. That's why I taught him how. And now it's exactly the same. You were forced to start this game before you understood anything about it, and I've come to tell you the truth. To tell you who you're fighting against, and for what. I was too shocked to speak. And finally, I realized what I needed to accomplish in this game. I've always been passive. I was sure that Oni-chan would tell me everything, so I naively thought I just had to believe whatever he said. I was wrong. That's not what this is. This is a battle between me, the one who wants to reach the truth, and Oni-chan, who wants to trick me and chase me out into a 1998 where I'm all alone. All this time, I've kept on saying that Oni-chan was foolish and naive. Now I see that I was more naive than anyone else. And yet, Burn Castell didn't sneer at me. On the contrary, she looked at me with that cold gaze, as if to say, "So you've finally taken your first step. Now do you understand your own purpose? And the purpose of that key?" Yeah, you're battling with Battler. I gripped the key Oni-chan had hung around my neck, and for a while I shook with an emotion that even I couldn't understand. Now I know that Oni-chan tricked me. It would be easy to hate him. But hating him would be missing the point. And after all, this is a game between me and him. Oni-chan has done nothing but make the optimal moves for winning against me. If games aren't a playful way to communicate, if they're the process that decides who wins and who loses, then there can be no fair games. The best strategy is always to trick your enemy into defeat without telling them the rules before they even know what's going on. In that sense, Oni-chan hasn't done anything wrong. He's using that sickly sweet illusion to trick me and force me out into a lonely future. They'll be the only ones having a good time in the cat box, and I'll be the only one chased out. Thank you. I'm grateful. I think I've finally been able to truly open my eyes. Please don't hate Battler. After all, one-sidedly tricking your opponent is what game masters do. I know. Oni-chan took the best option from his perspective. That's all there is to it. So I need to make the best possible moves from my perspective. My goal is now clear. October 4th and 5th, 1986. What happened on Rokkenjima in those days? I need to tear off the veil covering the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. Oni-chan gave me this key, probably because he wants me to put it in that keyhole of his choosing. That's why he keeps showing me this sentimental illusion. But I won't be fooled anymore. I'll open the door I want to open. Certainly, this kind of tale is more to my liking than one where Ange does whatever Battler says. Then this time I'll let you run the show from here on out. Tell Ange. Tell her where the keyhole that leads to the truth is. Tell me, where is the keyhole? I need to find Kingdom Hearts. Very well. First of all, have a seat. I'll go and get it for you. When Featherine rose from her rocking chair, my vision seemed to twist and bend. What is this? Some kind of interference? Why now, when Featherine's about to show me something important? Why is my head getting suddenly? I dug my fingernails into my knees, clenching my teeth to keep me from losing consciousness. However, the world just kept twisting more and more. Except for the feel of the sofa beneath me, I couldn't sense anything at all. Lady? Huh? Looks like they've arrived. The door opened, and Hachijo Toya appeared. What's going on? This isn't the world of witches, but the world of humans. Hey Kieran, welcome to the stream. Well, thank you so much for this stretch, I really appreciate it. Good to see you, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for dropping by. I was sitting on a sofa, and Amakusa was behind me. There's no need to feel confused. Featherine and Hachijo Toya are the same being. To her, the difference between the two worlds is a trivial thing. To put it in the words of that theater lover, it's like having a slightly different background behind the stage. So there was no real reason for me to feel hesitant. Should I call you Madame Hachijo this time? How complicated names are. Even though both of us are still here just like before, you have to wonder what to call me. True. Calling you Featherine would be a bit rude to you now. For an actor, the name of the role they act is only temporary. Precisely, child of men. Featherine? Amakusa's eyes went wide as he wondered what I was suddenly talking about. I ignored him and continued. So, what are you going to show me? As I spoke, my eyes were caught by that heavy-looking object she held under her arm. At a glance, it looked like an encyclopedia with a fancy binding. Do you know what this is? As Featherine spoke, she set the heavy object on the table. The first thing it reminded me of was a grimoire. The heavy book had a mysterious, mystical feel to it, like something Maria One-chan might carry around. And the most remarkable feature of it was the large, sturdy lock that held it shut. Why would someone go so far to keep people from reading a book? Why don't you take a look and observe the back? The back? I flipped the heavy book over on my lap. Hey, Spider Lily! Welcome to the stream! Thank you so much for the raid, I really appreciate it. Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by and trusting me with your audience. I hope you had a good stream yourself. How are you doing today? What were you playing? Did you have a good time? Let's give you a... Oh, thank you for writing the shout out, I appreciate it. Please join us in following Spider Lily B when you get a chance and check out their stream. Really, really awesome person, streamer, fun member of the community. I really appreciate it. And I'm Kiro, the frog-themed martial artist. We're reading Umineko When They Cry. It's a fantasy murder mystery visual novel, I guess you could say. And we're getting close to the end, which is really exciting. Hope you had a good time. You're doing art. Oh, that's awesome. What kind of things were you drawing? Hope you had a good time. Made a lot of progress. Thank you so much for entrusting me with your audience. I hope you're able to sit back and relax and enjoy, or go take care of yourself after your stream, because you deserve it. Thank you, thank you. And as soon as I saw it, I gave a small gasp. Ava. Ushimiya Ava. Without a doubt, those words were written there in Roman characters. What is this? Aunt Ava's diary? Could this be that rumored... Do you know something about this? Just a rumor. They say that President Ava had a secret diary that she always kept all locked up. They say she took it with her everywhere she went. At least that's what I heard from some of the other bodyguards. A secret diary? Why is that here? It was in the hospital room where Ushime Ava passed away. This diary was hidden behind her bed, so it remained in that room for some time after her death before it was found. Then, by coincidence, it was probably found by someone who worked for the hospital, or else a patient or their family. How's Umineko going? You've been meaning to check out the series, and you've only really watched Higurashi. It's really good. I don't know that much about Higurashi, but I like Umineko more because I like the aesthetic and the whole like murder mystery vibe behind it. It's really complicated. It's very long. If you want to if you watch the anime for Umineko, it'll give you like a Cliff's Note short version of the first 4 episodes, but it doesn't give you the second half of it, the second 4 episodes, so you won't actually get a conclusion if you watch the anime, so you have to do the visual novel or the manga if you want real closure, but they're very long. So we're getting close to the end of episode 8, which is the final episode, so if you don't want spoilers, I totally understand. But it is really interesting, so I do recommend you check it out, or maybe like preview it a little bit and see if it suits your fancy. I really like it, but it is very long. Of course, by that time, there was a huge movement dedicated to the Rokujima mystery. A locked diary found in the hospital room where Ushime Ava spent her last moments would be absolutely priceless. The discoverer probably handed it over in secret to one of the witch hunters, who'd be able to accurately determine its worth. Luckily, the witch hunters who got their hands on this book were all noble and upright people. Not content to boorishly destroy the lock and reveal the truth, they simply satisfied themselves with the fact that the truth of the day slumbered just on the other side of this mysterious lock. Thanks to that, Ava's diary has remained undamaged to this very day. It is already known that Natsui, wife of Kraus, the oldest son of Kinzo, sealed up all her complaints and repressed feelings by writing them down in a diary, which she treated as some sort of charm. So Aunt Ava did the same thing. Hey Axel, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for following me and being a Froggy friend. Welcome, welcome. Maybe the manga will be better for you? Because you don't like choosing the wrong things in the visual novel? Well, luckily for you, I mean, Umineko is a visual novel, but just like Higurashi, it doesn't actually have any gameplay. It's just reading. It's literally just a novel. So, you just read it. You don't have to worry about getting like the wrong choices or anything. I think that would make it really interesting if they did that, but I don't really... This plot is so complicated, I'm not sure how they would do that. But yeah, it is strictly a visual novel, like literally just visual reading. But it also has really good music too. I think that's the main strength. I think the manga obviously has better art, because you can draw out all the scenes separately. But the visual novel has really good music, so it's like, which one do you pick and choose? The anime is more like, let's just dip my feet and get wet and see if I'm going to enjoy this and want to see more, because it's faster to do and covers less. So it's almost like, if you just want a taste of it because you're not sure, watch a tiny bit of the anime and see if this is your cup of tea. I know a lot of actual Umineko fans don't like the anime because it dummies things down and like cuts out stuff, and like, you know, there's still like gore, animated gore that's usually censored, but it's not as much as the novel. But I think the anime is good just for, you know, if I want to decide if I want to commit all this time to the series, then... Yeah, the anime is like an introduction, like especially since they leave you on a cliffhanger. It's kind of like, dang, now I really want to know the rest. Or you could watch all my VODs, because I have all my Umineko VODs. You can listen to me read it to you like an audiobook, although it's very long. We're getting close to like 140 hours here. It's possible, at least. Opening up a diary like this would be a pain even if you did have a key. It's sealed up tight like a corset. Amakusa was right. This wasn't a diary made to be casually opened and reminisced over. It's probably safe to assume that she used this diary to forget things by writing them down and sealing them away just like Ushimi and Natsui did. Then she brought it with her into her hospital room and hid it behind the bed without telling anyone about it. Don't tell me that diary is... Are you saying Aunt Ava wrote down what happened that day? By reading its contents, you'll probably learn everything. However, we don't know where the key that unlocks it is. I jumped. Then I looked down at my chest. That's where my brother hung that key. Huh? It's gone! The key's gone! What's wrong, lady? What key? It's been hanging from my neck the whole time, hasn't it? I never noticed it. You had a key hanging from your neck? I understood almost immediately. In the world of humans, I haven't found the key. The me with the key is on the game board in the world of witches. Make me the me with the key! I'm going to unlock this diary. Featherine lifted a finger, spun it around, and the world twisted again. When I returned to Featherine's study, the key popped back into existence, hanging from my neck. But at the same time, the diary on my lap popped out of existence. Where'd the diary go? It should exist somewhere on the game board. Since it is one of the keyholes you are to be given, it must exist. Did Oni-chan hide it somewhere? Since Badler wants this to be a game between you and him, it probably isn't hidden completely. What do you mean? Even if Badler thinks of the diary as a king he mustn't lose, there would be no game unless it exists somewhere on this board. In other words, it's somewhere in the Ushimiya mansion. Or, you may already have been given an opportunity to witness it. Like how a swindler has already hidden a trap in microscopic letters on the first page of a contract you sign. If Badler follows the customs of the mystery genre as the game master, clues must be shown, so the choice that leads to Badler's defeat must have been shown. And try and remember. You should have seen Ava's diary in Badler's world already. In that instant, from the back of my mind, drifted the very first scene of this final game. In the chapel, a book was lying on the altar, a book with a lock on it. As soon as I showed interest in that book, my brother suddenly grew stern and told me not to touch it. That was Aunt Ava's diary. That's right. Ushimi Ava's diary, the book of the single truth, with the truth of that day written inside. The book of the single truth. Is the truth really inside it? After all, there's a chance that it's just something Aunt Ava... I'll say it in red. Ushimi Ava's diary, the book of the single truth, has the truth of Rokujima during October 4th and 5th, 1986 recorded within it. The discussions over Berncostell's reasoning game were getting passionate at each of the tables. At some point, each table started competing to see who could solve it first. Berncastell, haven't Ange and Erica arrived yet? They should have been here by now. Want to make a bet on who arrives first? I can understand Erica being late, but what about Ange? Just what kind of pit did you toss her into this time? Yeah, thanks for coming, Spider Lily. I appreciate the raid. Feel free to go enjoy your lurk and your walk with your cat and go to bed. Have a great rest. I really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time. How rude. She's sitting on a sofa sipping tea. Hopefully the sort of tea you drink suits Ange's tastes. Good point. How rude. That tea would suit anyone's tastes. Erica would even lick the last drop of my tea from the bottom of a miso pot. Now part of me's dying to ask how miso comes into the picture. Still, it's Erica. This will be a long-awaited reunion. That's right, come to think of it. Can't wait to see how long it'll take her to solve Burncastell's game. This sort of game is what that kid's best at. She'll probably read it from start to finish 3 times, and then just say the answer right away. Probably. I look forward to seeing her give the correct answer immediately with that smug look on her face. Come now, this is Erica we're talking about. She'll probably pull out some twisted logic and say it was possible for someone other than Badler's family. Good point. In fact, I'd like to hear her proud twisted logic even more than the right answer. Apparently, Badler and Beetle were looking forward to their reunion with Erica. They had already dueled with Erica in 2 separate games. By now, there was no distinction between foes and allies. They truly want to welcome her to this party after the show as a friend. It's so jarring they like Erica now. It is a bit weird, isn't it? Still, it's a bit unexpected. What is? You know, it's surprising you let Ange go this easily. Making sure that Badler and the others couldn't see her face, Lambda Delta sniggered. Is it really so surprising? Of course it is. I thought that being you tortured Badler with one tough puzzle after another before releasing her. Or that you'd at least try to give Ange some weird ideas and have her turn the game around in the end. And I thought I knew you better than anyone else in the world. So embarrassing that I was wrong. I'm sure it is. But don't worry. You obviously do know me better than anyone else in the world. Yeah, of course. After all, I love, adore, and understand you more than any other person in the universe. Lambda Delta was flustered by Burncastell's apparently friendly words, which were very rare coming from her. Badler-sama, pardon me for interrupting your conversation. Ange-sama has returned. Oh, she's back? Great. So, is she okay? It seems she was soaked by the rain, but Kumasawa is bringing her a towel now. When Badler heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he turned to face Burncastell, showing her a forced smile as though apologizing for still suspecting her just a little. Burncastell showed no reaction and simply continued to wear a blank expression with a slight smile. Ange-sama has returned. I'm back. Badler, Ange is back. Ange, I'm glad you're okay. I was worried. She stared at Badler as he dashed towards her with a relieved smile. Ange's expression seemed somehow indifferent. That Badler. Looks like he thought I had you hanging by chains in a cave or something. No. I didn't think you'd go that far. I was just having some tea at the house of one of Burncastell's friends. It was delicious. Did it have dried plums or miso in it? Of course not. As Ange spoke bluntly, she walked right past her brother and exchanged a few whispered words with Burncastell. What is it, Badler? Huh? Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. If he said he was lonely because his little sister was being so cold, Vito would either laugh at him or scratch him. After all, Ange was a girl at that age. She might be in a bad mood for reasons a boy like him couldn't understand. Taking note of this, and having satisfied himself that Ange was okay, he made to walk away. Battler. And just calling for you. Huh? Oh, sorry. I've been trying to get your attention for a while. Don't ignore me. I wasn't really ignoring you. What's going on with you anyway? You look like you were in a bad mood for a while now. I imagine Kirostyle gave her something strange to drink and pretended it was just some rare sort of black tea. I have no business with you. Back off for a bit, would you? I want to talk to Oni-chan alone. Come, I may not look it, but I am the wife of the Territory Lord. I'm already far closer to Battler than... Sorry, Bito. Would you mind leaving for just a bit? But now Battler realized that Anja's issue was more than just a slight bad mood. Bito puffed out her cheeks as though she wanted to say something more. However, she just let it out with a sigh and walked away. Is this okay? It is. After all, this game is between you and me, right? I'm the player. You're the game master. No matter how many pieces get between us, in the end, it's still a direct battle between you and me. Well, it's true that I'm the game master, but it's not like I'm fighting against you or anything. This final game was held so you can be invited to the Rokkenjima of 1986. Hey, Rickster! Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for following me and being a froggy friend. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a great day. Games are played to decide who wins and who loses. There can be no game unless you have foes and allies. Don't try to trick me. What are you talking about all of a sudden? You had me totally fooled. At first I actually thought you'd take me to that day in 1986. But that wasn't true. This has all been a farce you created, hasn't it? You're using the sentimental tale to dodge the issue and leave me confused. You're trying to chase me out into a lonely future with nothing but this cheap happiness as a parting gift. There's just one thing I've been after since the beginning. What happened on Rokkenjima that day? And the only answer you gave me was this game. This sentimental party of illusions. It's obvious how you're going to try and answer my question now. I want the truth. And you aren't going to give it to me. Ange, listen, you've got it wrong. Don't try and trick me. This game is the final fight between me and you. I want the truth of that day. And you're trying to hide it behind an illusion. It's exactly the same. The setup is no different than those fights between you and Bito. I was about to be chased out of the game board with everything still vague and fuzzy because of you. Well, sorry, but I've already figured out that this game is a battle. Don't think you'll trick me so easily anymore. Anja's shout tore apart the peaceful atmosphere. Family members and illusions gulped and watched the scene, wondering what was going on. Bito tried to run to Battler, but he motioned for her to stay back. What is it you want? There's only one thing I've ever wanted. The truth of Rokkenjima in 1986. That's all I'm looking for. The truth is sealed within a cat box. It can't be reached by anyone outside the cat box like you. Is that what you're trying to trick me with a sentimental illusion? Yes, this is an illusion. However, I wanted you to remember this fun atmosphere and the harmony within your family. It's not about what happened on that island that day. I wanted you to remember the warmth of these family conferences, a warmth you forgot. That's just an illusion you're trying to impose on me. I'll reject it and deny it completely. There is no truth of 1986. The cat box is empty inside. You're looking for something that doesn't exist. Huh. I won't be tricked anymore. The truth of that day does exist. It was written down by the sole survivor and preserved to this very day. Battler's expression faltered for just an instant, and Ange didn't miss it. So he was hiding it after all. Oni-chan has been hiding the book of the single truth from me. Aunt Ava, for the first time since your death, I'd like to express my gratitude. Because you wrote down what happened that day, you gave me one last chance at learning the truth. Anshan, you have to listen to me. Everything I wrote in that diary is nonsense, and it doesn't mean... There's no point in trying to deceive me. It's already been proven in red that your diary has the truth of that day in it. Absurd! How could anyone but Badler, the Game Master, use the Red Truth? It's Aurora, isn't it? That's right. The Book of the Single Truth exists in 1998, the world of the future. Who else could perform the crucial role of confirming its contents with the Red Truth? I heard everything from Kirostyle. I've been fooled by you long enough. I don't want some sentimental illusion. I want the real truth. No matter how hard you try to cover up in 1986, I can expose it in 1998. After all, you are the Beatrice of 1986, Oni-chan, and I am the Beatrice of 1998. A cyclone rose up around Ange. It was a golden swirl of gold butterflies, just like the Golden Witch Beatrice. I am Ange Beatrice of 1998, the final Golden Witch. No witch of the past can defeat a witch of the future. So, in the original visual novel, Ange actually just wears her regular outfit here. Ryukishi wanted to design a witch outfit for her, but didn't have the time or the chance to do it, but there are, like, sketches of what he wanted. So, in the PS3 version of the game, they drew a new outfit for Ange as a witch for this scene, which is pretty cool. It looks really nice. The cyclone of gold broke apart, and as gold leaves scattered around the room, the final witch who would inherit Beatrice's name in the future appeared. Ange, Beatrice. You're the golden and endless witch, but I'm different. I am the Golden Witch of Truth. No illusion can stand in my way. Yes, this is the end of Oni-chan's boring party. Now it's time for my party to start. I've even readied a game to liven things up. You're up, Aunt Ava. Huh? When Ange snapped her fingers, she vanished along with a swirl of gold butterflies. Replacing her in the middle of that cyclone was a girl wearing a dress bowing modestly. You! That's pretty rude, you know. Inviting everyone to the party except me. You're Ava! The sole survivor of Rokunjima, and the Witch of the Future, the Golden and Endless Witch from 1986 to 1998. In the world of the future, Badler-kun's sentimental illusion is more fragile than a flake of snow on a lake. Okay, let's have some fun. Come, try to remember. All of you, remember your endless theory-making. When Ava held her hand up to the heavens, light gathered there and took the form of a bottle. Yes, a bottle. A glass bottle with no label. There was no alcohol inside. Sealed within it was a fragment that let off a pale, sinister light. Badler, this is bad! She must not smash that bottle! Okay, it's showtime. The bottle was slammed against the floor and smashed to pieces. As soon as the fragment within it touched the outside air, it flashed white and burst. At first, it seemed that nothing had happened. However, Ava grinned at them before becoming a cloud of butterflies and vanishing. At some point, Kirostyle must have vanished as well. What did she do? It was probably a fragment she brought back with her from the world of the future. Perhaps we could call it the contents of the cat box in the future. What does all this mean? What? At that moment, they heard a thundering roar. It was as though large chunks of hail had started falling everywhere. An earthquake accompanied that noise, and the whole mansion creaked. Dust began to fall from the ceiling. At the same time, it seemed as though the curtain-covered window glowed with a pale light. What on earth is going on? Kyrie, look outside! What the hell is that? Everyone rushed to the window in response to her voice. Of course, Badler and Bito went too. Then they drew the curtains, looked at the scene outside, and were stunned into silence. How beautiful. Kinzo's words echoed the first impression felt by all who looked out at the scene beyond the windows. Not all beauty is benign. They always say that beauty has thorns, yeah? Though everyone found the scene beautiful, they all sensed impending misfortune from it. Outside the window, countless small objects, pale glowing fragments of crystals, lay strewn about everywhere like fallen hail. The word fantastical perfectly summed up the scene that lay before them in the glowing rose garden. I saw something move over there! Hey, is there someone over there? Wait, huh? A person just grew out of that glowing fragment. Seven Sisters of Purgatory, battle formation! With those words of Lucifer's, everyone finally realized they were being surrounded by danger. One by one, the countless fragments shook and burst, and large dark bodies rose up from inside each. They were giants with goat heads. One after another, they appeared from inside the broken fragments. Yeah. Come, my Bara goatmen! I summon thee! Those fragments lay all over the rose garden in vast numbers and made the ground glow, so that everyone inside was forced to shudder. 45, wide area surveillance. My radar is filled with white. We're either being jammed or the vast number of readings is making a count of enemy numbers impossible. Even as she said this, the glowing rose garden outside the window was being filled with giant goats. The fragments carrying the goats weren't just in the rose garden. They were spread evenly across the entire island. Not just the rose garden, but the entire area around the mansion was being covered with goats by now. Allow us to speak. Know that we are completely surrounded. Yeah, we noticed. What do you do now, Battler? Only one thing to do with uninvited guests. Let's chase them off. Who are these people? I'm guessing they aren't your minions, right, Beetle? The goat forms they hold are probably just imitations of the pieces on this game board. They aren't Risha's or Leah's minions. This is something worse. I see. So they are manifestations of message bottles. Message bottles? The ones Beto made? Not quite. These are fragments of what people in the future have imagined. Endless possibilities are hidden within the cat box. Because of that, those outside the box can imagine the insides to be any one of an infinite number of things. It would seem those endless delusions are the true form of these creatures. What will those goats do to us, I wonder? It doesn't look like they're here to give us a handshake and a pat on the back. Those people, those lowlifes making up and passing around stories, imagining the tragedies that might have unfolded around us on this island. They found it so fascinating that I never talked about the truth, that they kept on creating tragedies one after another for their own enjoyment. Yeah, they're basically being assaulted by an endless supply of personified fanfics. That's a very apt description. I see. So they're fragments from the future, imagining the cat box of 1986 however they please. In the world of the future, any and all interpretations can and do exist. Unless we deny them, everyone will be able to claim that their own view is the truth, and they will remain on this island. What a fix we're in. Looks like we're surrounded and fighting for our lives. What are they doing? They're eating. They're eating something. They're eating the roses. The crowd of goats was squirming about and doing something. If you look closely, you can see them sticking their heads into rose bushes and munching away. And it wasn't just rose bushes. Light poles, the bricks of the flower beds, and even the stone paving itself. They were biting all of it, almost as if they were trying to eat up the whole island. They're eating them, and then they're going to eat me. Oh my god. No, they aren't just eating. If they aren't eating, what are they doing? That is not eating. They are eroding it, shaving away at the edges. The edges of the game board itself. They're eating the game board. In the world of the future, everyone believes we were swallowed up by tragedy today. That's why they won't accept the truth where we enjoy ourselves in peace. Hey Frogget, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Yes, this is Kirby, my little froggy friend. Thanks for summoning Kirby, Lord. Hey Armon, welcome to the stream. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, thank you for the Kirby lip sync. Truths of the past are subordinate to the truths of the future. The merciless future fangs and jaws of those goats refuse to accept our truth and are eroding it, replacing it with the kind of truth they expect. Thanks for following me, Froggets. Thanks for becoming one of our froggy friends. I see you too are a connoisseur of frogs. Excellent, excellent. Damn it. This is our truth. It's not for those people in the future who have nothing to do with us anyway to rewrite as they please. The garden outside the window was now filled with too many goats to count, all chewing away. This repulsive scene stole the words from everyone's lips. They weren't stunned into silence. There was just no point in making a fuss and letting the goats know a certain fact. No point in letting them know that there was plenty of prey waiting in this bright, warm room, prey that was softer and easier to chew than roses or bricks. That goat there, he's looking right at us! Silence. Don't make a fuss. It's coming this way! Dear me, this does not look good! They saw one of the newly born goats' heads slowly turn towards their window. There was already a huge swarm of them in the garden, so it was no surprise that when one of them looked around for new prey, it would see the light from this window. Its immense, eerie body slowly approached. As it grew closer, they could finally see it clearly. The eyes blazed, despite being cold, ruthless, and reptilian. Those cruel fangs and jaws could tear apart and crush anything. Any fangs that could chew through brick would hardly have a problem chewing through humans. Its massive body had to be taller than the windows themselves, and it was lumbering towards this window. If only this window was made of special Ushimiya bulletproof glass. I doubt even bulletproof glass would stop that thing. Oh, it's coming! It's coming! It's running towards us! Allow me to speak. Know that this window shall not be breached. The power of Cornelia's seal formed a shield around the glass. The goat was blown back, unable to even touch the glass because of its power. Its weight made the earth tremble. They could feel that clearly even inside. But that tremor had also drawn the attention of the nearby goats. A pack of goats started shuffling towards them, and a fight broke out as they charged forward trying to reach this new prey first. The window protected by Cornelia's seal would probably be safe. However, there were many windows in the Great Hall. For the first time, those windows became a source of terror instead of a sunlight and lovely view. Gertrude! Allow me to speak. Know that this window shall not be breached. Gertrude sealed another window. The goats trying to break in through that one were thrown back. But at the same time, they heard the crash of yet another window being smashed. Scattering fragments of glass everywhere, the massive goats broke through the window frame and entered the building. Ah! Stay back, everyone! Stay back! On the first twilight, the six chosen by the key. Those words really were coming from the goat's mouth, along with a steaming, foul breath. However, it didn't get a chance to say any more. Forehead, neck, shoulder, chest, side, gut, knee. The stakes of the seven sisters buried themselves in deep, one after another. What rough, unappetizing flesh for piercing. I'd hate to have to gobble up any more of these. The other windows shattered one after another, and several goats squeezed their way in through the window frames. Their mouths were still stuffed with the bricks they had just been snacking on. Each time they chewed, it made a ghastly sound like bones being crushed. We will repel them. Jester troops, prepare for close-range combat. Stop. You start firing away, we'll have all the other goats coming in to join the party. Let's fall back to the second floor. If we could seal the staircase, I'll buy some time. Everyone, upstairs. Hurry! After sniffing noisily through the as though scanning the smells around them, the goats started chewing on whatever chairs, tables, or curtains were close by. The goats would chew anything to bits as long as it was near them. If the others were careful not to attract the goats' attention, they would be able to escape from this place. The humans ran on ahead to the second floor, while the illusions who were used to fighting guarded the rear. The goats were completely absorbed by their feast on everything in the hall. By now, they were even brutally chewing away at the portrait of Beatrice, which could be fairly called the symbol of the Ushimiya family itself. Valor, the humans have all taken refuge on the second floor. Good. Delanor, seal all the staircases. Gertrude and Cornelia will handle it. However, they need more time. All over the mansion, there were loud beating sounds that might be called knocks and the sound of shattering glass. Well now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for work. Seven Sisters of Purgatory, right here. Let's go, you lowlifes. Tonight, it's all you can eat. Jester troops, halt all external tasks. Cancel automatic updates, accept no data, take no prisoners. Kaiser and Jungfrau of the 7th District, by the Territory Lord's order, carry out your duty. I'll lend a hand. Leon, you're in the way. Go up to the second floor. But Will... Leave this to us and go. You have your own job to do. Protect your family. I understand. Everyone stay safe. The mansion was filled with the sounds of knocking, crushing, smashing, and chewing. The goats and their wave of destruction were drawing steadily closer. Lord Battler, Gertrude and Cornelia have finished sealing the other staircases. The large staircase here is the only one that remains. The other staircases are tiny, so they went fast. On the other hand, this staircase is huge. Looks like you'll have your hands full buying time. Lambda spoke as though it was someone else's problem. It only took a glance at her face to see she had no intention of lending a hand. Even so, Bito didn't scold her. This was a game between Battler and Ange. Lambda Delta was only a theater-goer who had been invited. Don't think badly of me. Even if I'd die if I was torn apart by nothingness. Sorry, but I think I'll stick to being an observer. That's what you've always been. Though it is a shame we can't ask for your help. Nah, she's being nice. Doesn't want to steal our show. Heh. Sure, let's call it that. As a Voyager witch, Lambda Delta could retreat from this game board of battlers if she wanted to. In other words, she was the only one who wasn't in trouble now. See you later. I think I'll watch this game between you and Burn till the end. I'll be rooting for you. And as you munch on popcorn... Of course. I think I'll have some soy sauce butter flavor today. Lambda Delta vanished with a pop. As soon as she did, a black hole opened up in midair and Gop fell out of it. Battler, Riche.
Could you come here for a second? You should probably see this.
Right now?
Yes.
Let's go. Everyone, we're counting on you to hold this position. When Gop snapped her fingers, a large hole opened up under Battler and Bito, swallowing them both. They were spat out into an inky blackness. Both of them were floating in the night sky. Roganjima lay far beneath them. And as soon as they realized this, they shuddered. This is... It's not just a crowd. It's a sea. It was no longer a crowd of goats, but an entire sea of them. Just as Rokanjima poked out from the ocean, the mansion was now poking out from a sea of goats.
People in the future really are amazing. Just how many of them have imagined the tragedy on this island?
It's nothing more than the worthless drivel of those outside the cat box. Let's clean this place up.
Look over there. It's hard to tell, but look at the shoreline.
The shoreline?
It's easy to make out the harbor. Look closely. See it?
Don't tell me.
Yeah, you're probably right. They're eating it. Eating the whole island. Come, try to remember fragments from the future. If only you just chew up all the embellishments, all the illusions, all the fantasy. As Ava yelled this to the heavens, hovering above the raging sea, hail fell down with a pale glow. Each was an unlabeled bottle with a fragment inside. They poured onto the island, were smashed to bits, and the fragments inside them scattered everywhere. Every now and then the fragments would split in two, and then split in two again, and every single one of them burst and gave birth to a massive goat. To say it was like bamboo shoots springing up after the rain would be a vast understatement. The goats writhed about like bubbling, boiling water in a pot. They ate away at everything they saw. They didn't just eat the harbor, but the trees and rocks, the entire coastline itself. Hundreds, thousands, no tens of thousands of goats continued to eat. They were chewing away at every bit of Rokanjima, of this final game that Battler had prepared. Too bad, Battler-kun. The future wants a tragedy on this island. Even Ange wants the truth. Don't worry, we'll chew up all the embellishment, illusions, and fantasy for you. And now Battler and the others had to admit it. The future wanted a tragedy. Even if the truth of this island had been a gentle, peaceful thing, the future didn't want that. The truth they wanted was painting over the past. The past is such a fragile thing. Even the cat box is being chewed apart. Just who are these people? Are they really so determined to plunge us into a tragedy? That's all I want to show you. Hope this helps a bit when you're making strategic decisions.
Yeah, thanks. Now I feel like crap.
Then let's go to the study next if you don't mind. Goldsmith wants to talk to you.
Gop snapped her fingers and another black hole swallowed them up and spat them out onto the study. Ow, ow, ow! Gop, if you're gonna drop me, at least do it on a bed. Grandfather, we're in trouble. There's absolutely nowhere left to go. I know. And even waiting out the storm from here is not an option. Ronov and the others should be able to buy us some time, but that's all. If they just hold up in the mansion, it would only be a matter of time before the swarm of goats got them. Trying to repel a few of the goats barging into the mansion would be like using a cup to bail water from a boat with a hole in it. Yeah, Kinzel, turn into a dragon again, please. Remember when you did that in episode 4? We can fight defensively for a while, but it's only a matter of time. We need to think of something while we fight. Can we escape? Where to? Is there any way for us to leave the game board? The outside of the game board is beyond the range of our territory. Only a Voyager witch could leave. Only Berngastel and Lambda Delta could do it. However, there's no way Berngastel would help.
Even Lambda Delta had already announced that she would be an observer instead of lending a hand. So there's nowhere left to run. No, there is just one place. Where? The Golden Land. I see. Is that our only option now? Indeed. The Golden Land is the most impenetrable place on this game board. If we wish to escape, it's that or nothing. These things are eating the cat box itself. For all we know, they might start chewing away at the Golden Land itself at any moment. What should we do, Battler? No point thinking about it. We're retreating. If we take too long to make a decision, even that road will be closed to us. Evacuate everyone. How can you open the door to the Golden Land? I just have to open it. However, an immense wave of the anti-magic toxin is emanating from that crowd of goats. It will take some time to open the door. So we've got to protect this study with our lives until the door's open. Just have to keep doing what we've been doing. There's one more problem. The door to the Golden Land cannot be shut unless 2 people close it from the outside. 2 from the outside. What do you mean? As soon as he said this, Battler realized. This must be the result of some agreement made between the 3 witches who are one. Normally, there's no need to go to the trouble of shutting the door, but it won't be so easy this time. Only you and Bito can fulfill the role of shutting the door. Me as the Territory Lord and Bito. Yeah, it sounds like the safest choice. Indeed. If it's just the 2 of us, we might be able to protect ourselves. Okay, open the door. Bito waved her pipe, leaving a golden trail behind as she sliced the air vertically. Then the gap of the door to the Golden Land appeared. It looked like nothing more than a thin golden string hanging from the ceiling. The mansion's got so many closed rooms, you mean to tell me none of them are safe? Use Erica's tape, just like hacking tape them shut. If you look closely, you could see the string was getting thicker very slowly. The door to the Golden Land certainly was opening, but so slowly you couldn't even tell if you weren't careful. At this rate, it would probably take quite some time before it grew big enough to let a person through. Grandfather, Gop, we'll need you to be our inner line of defense. Yes, there may be goats climbing up the outer walls. Very well. My rifle hungers for some prey. Understood. It'll be fun dropping those things into the abyss. The giant was sliced at an angle, split into 2 parts, and fell to the floor, showering it with filthy, dark blood and guts. Splendidly done. I'll let you take the next one. Countless massive goats, which had forced their way in from rooms and windows all across the mansion, wandered about in search of something to chew. Several of the goats noticed the group of people huddled around the staircase and lumbered closer, but they were pulverized by merciless attacks. Ronolf's shields easily halted the charging goats, and Vergilia's magic spears were pitting the giants against the walls. Delnor's and Will's blades were also slicing easily through goats. The pinpoint strikes of the 7 Sisters of Purgatory could pierce the vitals of and finish off any opponent, no matter how large. How can Delnor kill something that's not arguing with her? They kind of sort of explain it, but just imagine it's like a metaphorical argue fight, I guess. Don't think about it too hard. You'll kind of see it more as they keep fighting. The Chester sisters were holding their own too. They had blasted enough goats to bits with one shot from their high-caliber firearms that you couldn't count the kills with both hands. Given a limited number of opponents, they were more than a match for these goats. However, they weren't just up against a crowd, but an entire ocean. It was like a pebble trying to face the approaching waves of the stormy sea. Hurry on that gun barrel replacement, requesting cover from the Purgatory troops. So, you run out of ammo and you're nothing but rabbits. Lame. I don't want to hear that from a bunch of 7 paperweights who can only kill one person at a time, yeah? Yeah, keep them coming. Don't let us get bored. The hall was filled with massive goat corpses. As if in fear of the sight, the goats that came in one after another formed a wall, keeping their distance. Perhaps they think they're no match for us. I wish that were true, but it seems to be little more than wishful thinking. What are those guys doing? They're looking at us and whispering to one another. Apparently, they have the intelligence to talk together and cooperate. The goats surrounded them at a distance, whispering. Then they nodded at each other as though deciding something, and the whole group stirred. What are they doing? It almost looks like they're lining up in a different order. The enemy is changing its formation. It appears that the individuals with greater destructive power are being gathered in the front lines. So what? Let's go. Yes, One-sama. Wait, something's wrong. Lucifer took aim at one of them, going for his forehead. The other 6 sisters followed her lead, trying to pierce the vital organs all over the creature's body. However, there was no sound of pierced flesh. The 7 sisters of Purgatory were knocked back, unable to cause even the smallest wound. What? What just happened? Those guys are talking about something. Those goats kept whispering the same thing over and over as they slowly approached the 7 sisters. All of them whispered unanimously. All fantasy is fictional. The 7 sisters of Purgatory are illusions personifying stakes for ceremonial sacrifices. They're actually paperweights. They're actually paperweights. As they whispered curses that denied the 7 sisters' existence, the goats lumbered closer. Get back, Purgatory troops! We'll cover you! It's time you learned a lesson, goats. The golden bows of the Chester troops mowed down the wall of goats with a shower of bright golden bullets. Some of the goats were torn to pieces, but some of them seemed completely unaffected. Then the goats who were uninjured all whispered at once. The Chester sisters' Imperial Guards have Maria's rabbit dolls as their vessels. They're actually rabbit dolls. Maria's imagination, fantasy, fictional beings. All of the crimes can be explained by mystery. All fantasy is irrelevant. Looks like we've got lots of people who won't accept the existence of magic. And that means no magical attacks will have any effect on them. Does that mean all our attacks will be completely useless? Endless 9, yeah? If they don't accept that we exist, our attacks can't hurt them, yeah? Is that possible?
We'll have to test it.
Ronov stepped forward, stamped on the floor twice, and a red barrier rose up in front of him. The crowd of goats dashed into it with a terrifying force. While some goats were blown away by it, several of them slipped right through the magical barrier. Ronov is a creature of magic, a creature of fiction. Genji is Ronov's vessel. He's an imaginary version of Genji. I see. So even my attacks will not affect some of them. There was no longer any point in Virgilia trying out her magic spear. Now that some of the goats had decided that her existence was fictional, she could no longer hurt them. Even these great demons and great witches, as well as high-level furniture and weapons, were overcome with fear of the crowd that surrounded them, a crowd that would not be affected by any of their attacks. What are we going to do? We'll keep fighting until the end. You don't have permission to die in battle. Fantasy is all fiction. Fantasy is all fiction. Fantasy is all fiction. A shriek from one of the goats became a signal for the wall of them to break. They pushed forward with gaping mouths and foul breath, each trying to reach their prey first, trying to return these fictional creatures to nothingness. Look out! Vergilia leaped in front of and held several of the seven sisters, who had fallen on their butts, overpowered by the ferocity of the approaching goats. However, even Vergilia was a fictional creature to these goats. They could chew through her like cotton candy. Madam, quickly! Ronov threw himself at the oncoming goats. Even he would be chewed apart easily. Knowing this, Ronov leapt forward. Even if my magic no longer functions, I am still the fiercely passionate and loyal man I always was. And furthermore, did you expect I would simply sit by and watch a lady die? Ronov is fantasy. Ronov is fantasy. Ronov slammed his right fist on the side of the goat's face. As soon as he pulled it back, he swung his left leg into the goat's gut, then spun around into a reverse roundhouse that caught the goat again. Ronov knew. He could do less damage than a mosquito bite against those who didn't accept his existence. It was the height of anti-magic defensive power. Endless 9. Ronov is fantasy, a fiction, an illusion. The goat swung its log-like fist with a sound like a storm. Ronov dodged by a hair. Had he been an instant slower, that massive arm would have crushed his head like glass. Ronov, stop this, run! I, Ronov, cannot help but rise to the challenge when I see a lady in a pinch. A bad habit of mine. Ronov grinned and tried to act tough. He had already sacrificed all he had. There was nothing he could do here and now except become a shield to buy time. He had already chosen to abandon his life for this. Ronov is fantasy. He couldn't exist. He couldn't possibly exist. Illusions do not exist. They do not exist. Fantasy is all ridiculous. Ridiculous. The goats kept coming, trying to feast on Ronov. None had any pretensions of making this a one-on-one fight. Nothing mattered except chewing apart fantasy. Even just a nibble. As they gnashed those ruthless jaws and fangs, they closed in around Ronov. Ronov's foot hit something and he stumbled. At the same instant, several massive arms reached out and lifted him up. Ronov-sama! What are you doing, Chester? Shoot them! If that do anything, we would have done it already, yeah? Everyone, please stand back. I should be able to buy you some time as they savor my flesh. However, I think they'll find that Ronov has quite a few little bones in him. An elbow rammed itself into the massive, hideous jaws that were trying to chew Ronov's head. Of course, the goat did moan, but that did nothing but deprive just one goat of his right to the first bite of Ronov's head. Many jaws opened wide, trying to crush him and throw him down in those heartless stomachs, which would permit no cheerful illusions to exist. I won't accept fantasy. Won't accept. It's possible to explain everything with mystery. Possible. Fantasy is fake. Everything is mystery. All the many arms that lifted Ronov up were sliced off. The seven sisters used this chance to fly forward and grab Ronov, dragging him back. Which of you mentioned mystery? Does Delnor's blade work on them? I see, if our foes are calling it a mystery. Blood-red longsword in hand, Delnor slowly walked forward. Behind her walked Will, tapping his back with his black blade. If you don't think this is a fantasy, then let's have your theories. I cannot wait to hear your explanations. The crowd of goats stepped back. Though they had been so vicious against the illusions, they stepped back when faced with this pair wielding swords of mystery. Yeah, it's so nerdy, but it's so cool. I like how it's so fantastic and ridiculous, but it makes sense given the rules of this game so far. Like, I love that's how all the fight scenes turn out. Like, people suddenly having amazing powers, but it's all explained by the rules that we've already set out. There have been a great many closed room murders on this game board. Choose whichever you please, and we will parry all of your attacks. No, we don't have to defend anything. Indeed, the purpose of a mystery is to offer a challenge. There's no need for us to play defense. Do you get it yet? You're the ones in the hot seat now. Blue Truth cut the goats apart. That Blue Truth dwelt within each and every one of the riddles from Bito's game so far. What about the closed room with a chain? First game, second Twilight. What about the closed room with a chapel? Second game, first Twilight. What about the trick to killing Nanjo? Third game, ninth Twilight. There was no end to the blades. Countless riddles Beatrice had left behind became blades, challenges that tore the goats apart. If they wanted to deny fantasy, they would have to make a counter-argument. They would have to deal with every single trick as a mystery. However, while most of the goats called themselves anti-fantasy, they hadn't thought up any answers for the mystery. Though every now and then the goats with answers did appear. Someone outside the Ushimiya family was hiding on the island and... Nox's first. It is forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story. There were multiple culprits all working separately, and it just happened to look like a single culprit. Van Dyne's 12th. There must be but one true culprit. You mean everything but that is forbidden? Boring, right, to have a genre like that? Personally, I think mystery should be more flexible. The 10 Nox commandments and the 20 Van Dyne rules are behind the times. The definition of the mystery genre should change with the era. And now they get uppity. Perhaps we are behind the times. In that case, let's see if you have any theories that can satisfy us. Come. The whole crowd of goats charged them. In their fangs, each of them carried theories to crush Bito's closed rooms. Book club UFC? I guess that's what this is, isn't it? It's just a big book club fight. The bodies of these goats differed from those who became corpses so easily. They had mystery-style answers to several closed rooms, so it would take several blade hits to give them a fatal wound. However, Bito had left many blades behind. All of them were exceedingly sharp, so the pair of Inquisitors didn't think this would be a desperate battle. This is a mystery. The goal is to use your imagination and knowledge to challenge each of the riddles head-on. Doing so is the greatest pleasure of the mystery genre. So they laughed. Both Will and Delanor laughed. With smiles of admiration at the theories the goats had put everything they had into, they countered with blades from all the closed rooms. The crowd of goats was no longer an encirclement, but a great wave threatening to swallow the pair up. And yet the pair repelled the enemy without giving an inch. They resisted firmly, cutting through the wave of wailing goats. It was like an ice-breaking ship knocking a path through a frozen sea. They entered the closed room through a hidden passage that no one else could use, and... Nox's third. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist. After the hidden passage was used, it was wielded shut and became unusable, so no hidden passages existed at the time of the inspection. Nox's eighth. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. These are all fake murders, so no one's actually dead. So all closed rooms were constructed by the so-called victims. Delanor hesitated for just an instant. After all, this cliched and simple theory managed to get around both Bito's closed rooms and the Nox commandments. Delnor saw nothingness inside the goat's massive jaws. Ugh. Van Dyne 7. It is forbidden to have a crime without a corpse. The goat's jaws seemed to close around Delnor's head. However, the upper and lower jaws were no longer connected, so the upper half merely slid off to the side. I guess even the great Nox forgot to forbid fake murders. There are many splendid mysteries besides murder. The goats weren't about to back off and let the pair have a nice long chat about the mystery genre. The next massive figure immediately enveloped them. Will's blade drew a diagonal slash across its chest, but it only cut through its clothes, leaving no wound. Huh? The 20 wedges don't work on this one. Delnor also hit it with her longsword, but still, it just cut its clothes without leaving a mark on its body. Could this goat have a theory that doesn't violate Nox or Van Dyne? Is this goat just butt naked now that we cut off his clothes? Nox and Van Dyne are meaningless. All closed rooms can be explained by a single solution. After all, in an attempt to stop the goat from saying any more, Will and Delnor hit it with blades from every closed room, as well as stakes from the 10 Commandments and the 20 rules. But none of them had any effect. Slowly, the goat clenched its massive fists together and raised them up high. Yeah, naked goat's gonna solo everyone. It makes me think of like some of the enemies in like Jujutsu Kaisen. Like they're just like giant naked curses and they just beat everyone up. After all. Will! With a roar, Will slammed into the goat giant with his body. Though its massive bulk bent back slightly, Will was still leaping into a death trap. However, if he hadn't done so, he wouldn't have been able to protect Delnor. The goat grabbed Will. It lifted him up and held him high in the air. It was like a little kid showing off his favorite toy and waving it around. Let's hear your theory. If I'm to hear a great theory before I die, it'll be a fitting end for a rite. Van Dyne and Nox are useless for making theories. Ugh. The goat's massive hands closed on Will like a vice. All the bones in Will's body were creaking. Let's hear your theory. Ugh. There is no need for a theory. What? After all, making theories for any of Beatrice's games is a waste of time. What do you mean? This isn't an orthodox mystery, so thinking about it is just a waste of time. I won't accept Beatrice's game as a mystery. There are no answers to the tricks. It's all just an illusion. Yeah, the goat just said, I reject your reality and substitute my own. Ugh. Thinking is just a waste of time? Ugh. Will's head was lowered so his face couldn't be seen. However, the arm of the goat holding him was shaking. The embrace of those log-sized arms with superhuman strength was being slowly pushed away by Will's shaking arms. Thinking is just a waste of time? You say that and you call yourself a mystery novel reader? Ugh. The mystery genre is like chivalry. You fight with the noble rules you've created with pride in the stance you've taken. Is it worth being a coward if it'll help you win? Does losing make the whole fight meaningless if you fought with everything you had? This isn't about winning and losing. It's about applauding the will to fight, even in the most dire circumstances. Ugh. The goat's arms were now spread wide and it looked as though the Will was now the one pushing it back. Will's face was covered in shadow and couldn't be seen. People like you, who call themselves mystery readers even though they never even try to solve mysteries. You're the ones I really can't stand. Will slammed his forehead in the goat's now unprotected head. If you call yourself a mystery reader, be proud to join in on a battle of wits. If you call yourself a mystery reader, it's about time you realized. Giving up is nothing to brag about. Will hit it with his head over and over again. His forehead had been torn apart by the goat's fangs, but he kept on hitting it. Van Dyne and Nox may be behind the times. The mystery genre does progress with time, just like the world around it. However, there's one thing that never changes. That is pride. What is a knight proud of? Not victory. He's proud of his courage, which lets him stand up to anyone without fear. Will couldn't forgive the kind of coward who could turn tail from a fight and then brag about it. People who call themselves mystery readers but who have no pride are the only people Will just can't stand. The goat, unable to put up with this anymore, threw Will down to the floor. Then he lifted his fists again, determined to crush Will to pieces this time. Come. You probably will beat me to a pulp, but that'll be no victory for you. You'll destroy your own pride with your own hands. Pointless. Pointless. This is no mystery, so why make theories? Thinking is just a waste of time. Useless. 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 Die, die, die. It is really goofy, right? But I don't know, it's really charming. Ryukishi has said in the past that Will is like the personification of like intellectual Umineko readers who are actually like trying to solve the mystery and think. And then up until like episode 7, right, Ryukishi hasn't actually explained Beatrice's mystery, but we've been given a lot of clues. But even at the end of episode 7, when Will solved the mystery, he did it really vaguely. So they got a lot of complaints from readers that were like, "You didn't tell us the answer. Spell it out for us. We don't want to think about all these clues you put down. Just give us the answer already." So I think he incorporated that into his writing of episode 8 to kind of like mock them, to be like, "Yeah, this is what you get for not thinking. Get out of this story." It is really interesting to hear about his thought process going into like writing each episode and adapting it a little bit as he went, like along with fan feedback. Like the inclusion of the witch hunters, for example. I would love to like have like an entire compilation of his thoughts on that, but I doubt there exists such a thing except for like scattered bits of Japanese interviews here and there. Yeah, he's gone meta, right? It's really cool though. A making of would be really cool, but I feel like it'd be so long. It'd probably be just as long as Umineko itself. Okay, sorry, I had to like catch my breath for a second. A fist like a cannonball swinging down towards him was the very last thing Will saw before he shut his eyes. In this game, if you stop thinking... In this game, if you give up, that means you lose, right? Adler smashed his fist in the goat's mouth and smashed teeth bounced off the ceiling. Adler-sama... If you stop thinking, it means you've given up on the story being a mystery. Which means, as far as you're concerned, this game is a fantasy. Badler lifted up his arm. Realizing this was a signal, Lucifer and Chester00 jumped. Oh, thanks for the stretch, Lark. Very, very good. Oh, thanks for calling Kirby, too. Oh, there you are. Hey, Kirby. If you stop thinking, you don't deserve to be an actor on the stage. Stop trying to sound smart and go eat some popcorn from the stands or something. The goat lifted his fist again, then swung it down at Badler like a hammer. If you surrender to fantasy, that just makes you another target, yeah? It's the same as acknowledging that we exist. Begin recognition of hostile elements. Mark all targets vulnerable to magical attacks in our HMDs. Kids who surrender to fantasy get to deal with us. And if you have a theory, we will hear it out. We'll welcome those people with open arms. Out of respect for them, we won't hold anything back. Oh, but it would seem that this is Badler-sama's time to shine. While I'd like to listen to all your favorite theories, both mystery and fantasy, this isn't your game right now. No matter how much you future fragments try to deny us, this is no time for me to be defeated. The golden glints gathered in Battler's hand. It was so bright the whole hall was bathed in gold. Golden butterflies flitted about as though the whole room was being swallowed up by the golden land. Battler lifted his golden longsword high. Feel free to challenge Bito's game as a mystery or a fantasy. I welcome it, but I'm not going to let you deny this final game of mine. Feel the shame of your indiscretion, of impugning the honor of those who have passed away. A slice of the golden longsword flooded the hall with a sea of golden light. Then the whole group of goats clambering about the hall turned into clouds of gold butterflies and scattered. Even so, only about 100 of them had been wiped out. Before long, the massive crowds of goats outside would probably become pouring in. The seal Gertrude and the others are working on will be finished in a bit. Sorry, but I'll have to ask you to hold out here a little while longer. Of course, Lord Battler. Otherwise, you wouldn't get to show off. You know, you two could try fighting just a little. But we're just the MCs. Their excessively blunt refusal drew a few strained smiles. However, it had lessened the tension of the room just a bit. I love Zephyr and Fervor, they're just so goofy. Battler-sama, leave this to us. We won't allow the erosion to proceed any further. And not one of us will be left behind. Of course. We are all precious pieces on Lord Battler's game board. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory, the Chester Sister Corp, and everyone else nodded forcefully. Yeah, I'm counting on all of you. We'll definitely protect this final game I made for Ange. They're managing to hold their ground down below. The door to the Golden Land continues to open slowly. It will still take some time, though. That's right. We better start buying some time ourselves. The sea of goats that covered the ground below them was jostling about more and more. By now, even the sea surrounding the island had disappeared. The horizon was gone, and the chewed-up island was now floating on an eerie emptiness like space. The goats that flooded the edges of Rokonjima seemed to be spilling off the sides. Looks like that's it for this game board. As long as there's a game master in pieces, the game board can always be laid out again. As long as you have two people together, you can create any sort of game. True. Where on earth is Ange? Where did you hide that? That's right, the chapel! What's happened to the chapel? It's still there. The chapel looked like a white building floating in the pitch-black sea of goats. Yes, this was strange. There was no way those goats who consumed everything would go out of their way to avoid just the chapel. That's where Ange is. And outside the chapel was a sea of goats. Very soon the earth around the chapel would be eaten away, and would probably end up floating on nothingness. The rampage of the goats as they devoured everything and recited the tragedies they had imagined was truly making a lot of noise. However, none of that reached inside the chapel. Ange finally broke the magic seal in the entrance and stepped inside. The seal was supposed to be unbreakable by anyone. However, in the face of Ange Beatrice, Witch of Truth, the one who sought the truth and could sweep aside all forces that prevented her from finding it, no barrier was absolute. There it is. A single book, tightly locked, rested on the altar. It was a hidden diary that Ushimi Eva had continued to write in even her later years. The Book of the Single Truth. It was the one Featherine had shown her in the world of 1998. This time, I have the key. I gripped the gold key that sat in my pocket, the key Oni-chan gave me. As I approached the altar, I saw that the Book of the Single Truth was wrapped in a strange bending of the light. So this is that seal of the Game Master that Bernkastel talked about. The Book of the Single Truth was sealed in something like a crystal. It was a seal made by the Game Master's authority. Yeah, basically, Andrew's like, screw the party. I'm the party now. This was on a different level than the breakable magic seal in the chapel door. No matter how Ange used her power as a Witch of Truth, this couldn't be broken by anyone except the Game Master. Moreover, this time, Battler wasn't the only Game Master. So sorry, Oni-chan. Bernkastel is a Game Master too. I just need to take this to her and have her break the seal. Yeah, Ange is the one who goes to the house party but breaks into all the bedrooms to read people's diaries. That's basically what's happening, isn't it? Ange slowly approached the altar. Will Ange really do as you say? This is my little sister we're talking about, so yeah, probably not. Then what will we do? Looks like we got nothing to go on but brute force. At that moment, a fierce impact hit the pair of them. Ito was flung away and Battler was sealed inside a massive crystal that extended up to the heavens. Damn, what the hell is this? Battler, oh, what is this? It was a barrier, a massive cage of crystal. Battler was shut inside a crystal cage like a tower, so large you had to look up to see the top. Ito, I need you to take care of Ange. What will you do? Can you break free from this all by yourself from the inside? Is this a closed room barrier? Who could have... There's only one person who challenged me with a closed room. Looks like our final guest has finally arrived. You don't mean... Go and take care of Ange. Vito left Battler to handle this on his own and headed for the chapel. Battler took a deep breath and smiled daringly. I've been waiting for you. Was it boring in the depths of Oblivion place? The answer was a laugh. Yeah, that's right. That laugh is enough. Looks like you're doing well. It wasn't boring. After all, I believed. I'll bet you did. I believe too. Battler flung off his cape for the Territory Lord. It'd only get in the way. And it would be a rude way to welcome his final guest. Those dark depths were the perfect place to think up mysteries I could fight you with when we met again. So this crystal cage is the ring for our duel. A chain deathmatch with nowhere to run. Now that you mention it, we're always fighting over closed rooms with chains. Then let's use that. Make it a real chain deathmatch. I'm prepared, but what about you? I am. I told you, didn't I? I believe too. At the same time, they both brandished their mysteries, sealing the other in a chained, closed room. Yeah, leave it to Erica to enjoy being banished to the Shadow Realm. Come, Fruto Erica. Entertain me, Battler-chan. At the same time, they were both sealed inside a closed room locked with a chain. Of course, it was easy to set and unset the chain from the inside. However, stepping into their opponent's chained room would be difficult. They were fighting to the death with two chained closed rooms at once. There could be no better closed room duel for these two who had battled with theories concerning chained rooms so often. Fruto Erica committed suicide, died in an accident, died of an illness, died by some reason other than homicide. It wasn't a suicide, it wasn't an accidental death, it wasn't a death by illness. I really was killed by you, Battler-san. It was a murder committed by slipping poison gas through the crack of the door, by filling the room with water and drowning you, by sucking the oxygen out of the room and making you suffocate. There was no poison gas, there was no drowning, there was no death by suffocation. A closed room murder with poison gas, death by drowning, suffocation? Crazy, right? It's funny, isn't it? Good. Ushimi Battler committed suicide. He died in an accident. He was killed by an illness. Time for me to test your closed room. Red truth. Ushimi Battler was stabbed to death. Let's say the weapon was a knife stuck right into his back. Good. Nothing beats a classic closed room. Then why don't you try it too? I'll take that challenge with the red truth. Fruto Erica was stabbed to death. The weapon was a knife stuck right into her back. Interesting. I'll tear your closed room to bits. What's this supposed to be? Battler's busy at the moment. For now, I shall be your opponent. Bito had sealed the chapel with a closed room barrier. Unless that riddle was smashed with blue truth, Ange wouldn't be able to leave. After shrugging impatiently, Ange finally faced Bito. This might be the first time I've fought you directly. Oh, is it now? Very well, let's see what you've got. However, Battler isn't here at the moment. When he's not around, I sometimes forget to hold back. What a coincidence. I feel the same. I killed you inside a perfect closed room, with windows, doors, and all other methods of entry or exit blocked. Okay, I'll play along with your game. Repeat it! It's so interesting how they fight in this game. Like, it makes sense with, like, the lore and everything, but it's just so interesting. Yeah, it's little sister versus sister-in-law. And then you see, we'll set up so that among the works entered in Company X's mystery novel contest, yet another one of the great Hachijo's works will appear under a false name. Yeah, I guess she took off her witch clothes for the fight, I don't know. Like how Battler threw off his cape. Of course, then we'll move on with a movie version and a TV drama bundled in. Well, we're here at Company X would be honored to accept your manuscript. And am I getting prize money out of this? But of course! The 10 million yen prize for Company X's first mystery novel contest will all go to you. And much more besides. Splendid. You've caught my interest. That's why I've decided not to write up a manuscript for you. What? Madam Hachijo, why? Everything had seemed to be going so smoothly up until then, so this sudden refusal made the people from the publishing company fall over in their sofa. This little scheme of yours is far more interesting than the manuscript I wrote. In that case, it would be fitting to hand it over to you. It was always a worthless story. I want to lure my ignorant readers into lauding it, making them feel as though they'd performed some magnificent reasoning. I was hoping that you children of men would recognize the irony and laugh at your own mistake. But it looks like you've taken it seriously. Yes, I can say I'm ashamed at my own failure as a writer. Of course not. Please forgive us. Please, let us see your... I have no need for money, but some pet food would be nice. Pet food? Oh, for your cat! There was a rumor you had a cat who liked dried plums. Yes, as you wish. Quickly, let's have a high-quality assortment of dried plums brought in here. She only eats the ones that are packaged separately, at 200 yen apiece. At this rate, she'll die of high blood pressure. She snacks on kimchi and spicy miso all the time, too. Really, there must be something wrong with that cat's tongue. Meep? The cat meowed in objection from where it lay on top of the bookshelf. I cannot give you this manuscript, but why don't I write up a new one for your company's contest? However, I won't write it under my name. It's estimated that thousands of manuscripts will be sent in for your contest. If you manage to pick mine out from the pack, and if you also find it deserving of the prize, then I would be happy to continue our discussion just now. How does that sound?
Just the honor of receiving your manuscript is more than enough.
You people truly are amusing, fawning and cringing all the time. But I've grown wary of this for today. Leave now. Meeting with children and men can be so tiring.
Aha! We are deeply grateful for your kindness in allowing us this meeting.
A servant guided the people from the publishing company to the door. In the study that was now finally quiet, Hachijo Toya let out a sigh, slumped down on the sofa and gazed at the ceiling. It is tiring, but the stimulation of talking with a child of man isn't such a bad thing in small doses. It's good for you to talk to people every now and then. You'll go senile if you stay shut in all the time. The black cat leapt down from the bookshelf and landed softly on the carpet. Then its form silently twisted and became that of Bernkastel. Indeed, they certainly can be entertaining. Inviting them over now and then may go a long way towards alleviating my boredom. At any rate, I think I'll write that manuscript when I feel like it. It sounds like they'll even bring a gift for you. What's all this about pet food? How rude. Well, that's what it is. Here. Hachijo picked up a jar from a shelf, then took a dried plum out and threw it into the air. In an instant, Bernkastel turned back into a black cat, caught it in midair and started munching away. Madam Hachijo, your guests have departed. A servant knocked on the door before making this announcement. Thank you. Let me know if that one wakes up.
As you wish. Would you like some tea?
No. I'm going to write for a bit. Please do not disturb me.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Featherine's just a crazy cat lady. There's no going about it.
After waiting for the servant's footsteps to disappear into the distance, Hachijo moved to her desk. The desk certainly looked as though it belonged to a great writer, with pages of manuscripts scattered across. Even though the century is almost over, you still write with a pen. The black cat spoke as though it tore the dried plum apart with its mouth. Tales are to be written with ink. To me, that is an unbreakable rule. So you write it once with ink, then type the whole thing over again with a keyboard. Pretty stupid doing the same thing twice. In that case, why does a child of man drop a tale in their mind, then spit the whole thing out again on a keyboard? How foolish of them to do the same thing twice. Look at it that way, and you're doing the same thing 3 times. That was a good one. Even as Hachijo laughed, her fountain pen was already sliding across the page. Beautiful letters appeared almost as fast and proficiently as a typewriter. Only humans called her creations manuscripts. With her fountain pen and writing paper, she was creating a world. As she did, the hands of the clock would spin around like a top. The light and shadows that came in through the window changed their angles so fast they might have been the hands of a clock themselves. Slowly, she drew a large X across the tightly packed words on the paper. Having trouble. I can't draw it out well. Writing a manuscript to please people is truly a pain. After all, I don't usually write for other people to read. You should try writing down whatever it is you're saying on that manuscript paper. Bernkastel curled up on the sofa, a mocking smile on her face. Normally, whenever Hachijo was writing, Bernkastel would never let herself be noticed, much less talk to her. However, Bernkastel realized that the other was apparently getting bored with her manuscript, so she yawned and started talking. What is it you're writing anyway? A tale to give to a child of man. Which child of man? It's a tale I promised to write for Miko, who once read for me. Ah, you're still writing that. I can't think of anything's right that would give her satisfaction. Looks like Awa's giving up again. You always promise to write a story and then get stuck before you're finished and give up. If I'd given up, I wouldn't be worrying over it like this. There's only one tale that Ange just wanted to hear from the beginning. The tale of the single truth. Ange said she wanted to know what happened that day. No matter how many tales you write distorting the truth, she'll never be satisfied. And yet, I do think my tales are far more interesting than the single truth. Ange doesn't want to read an interesting tale. I promised that child of man I would write a tale for her sake. So I'm writing a tale to please her. No matter how interesting or uninteresting it is, everything you write is an illusion. Ange doesn't want any of that. Haven't you figured that out yet? The Book of the Single Truth was written by Ushimi Eva. Hidden amongst the pile of writing paper was Eva's diary. Furthermore, the one who wrote this passed away without revealing it to anyone. Being the humble writer that I am, I would like to respect that. Don't make me laugh. Is this coming from a person who entertains herself by taking a tale and tearing out its guts? The truth is uninteresting. Is that your opinion after tearing apart the guts of so many tales? You might as well say that. With a self-mocking laugh, Hachijo set down her fountain pen. I certainly have aged. The first thing age taught me was that not knowing is more precious than knowing. And that definitely sounds like something an old person would say, but I'll bite. What do you mean? Knowing and not knowing. These two things have a one-way relationship. True. It's possible to switch from not knowing to knowing, but you can't do it the other way around. When I realized that, I saw the noble purity resembling virginity that exists in not knowing. In my attempts to escape boredom, I've torn apart and eaten the guts of as many games and tales as there are stars in the sky. But always my relief from boredom is short-lived. It's also fleeting that I start to ignore each tale as an individual story. Hey, Psycho Reaper! Welcome to the stream! Thank you so much for the raid, I really appreciate it. How are you doing today? Did you have a good stream? Please join us in following Psycho Reaper when you get a chance. He's an awesome friend of the stream, excellent community member, he's a great streamer, he plays games, he plays Final Fantasy XIV, he also sings sometimes if you're lucky to catch him. Make sure you go check him out. How are you today, Sai? What were you playing? Did you have a good time? You ended a good game on Smite. Nice, good for you. Hope you had a good time. That sounds awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your audience with me. Feel free to sit back and relax. I'm Kiro, your frog-themed martial artist reading a visual novel, Umineko. Or go take care of yourself after you stream. You deserve it. Thank you, thank you. Oh, you're being sarcastic. You didn't actually have a good game? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I hope you still had fun. That's right. If you eat a cat, then you only get to enjoy it for one night. But if you let it live, it might start calling you names and getting sarcastic. Indeed. Even the annoying way they break into your sweets cupboard or sneak into your bed can be part of their charm. Hachijo looked around at the books covering every square inch of the room, then softly petted the cat's back. I might have been able to enjoy a single tale much longer and much more deeply. As I've eaten my way through countless tales to escape boredom, I haven't really been eating them. I've just been killing them. And in the end, they'll kill me back. Hachijo laughed with self-derision. Even in Beetle's game, you tried to tear the guts out. I just wanted to check my answers. I did try to do it in a way that respected Beatrice, the weaver of this tale. Yeah, I think it was pretty well read. All done so that people who didn't understand wouldn't figure it out. Will it make for a better tale if Ange learns the truth? Or if she doesn't? To be honest, I don't know anymore. So fully aware that you'll scorn me for it, I decided to stop writing the rest of this tale. What do you mean? I won't write it. I will merely record it. The tale that Ushimi Ange weaves herself. So you're going to do that sort of thing again. After growing tired of 1,000 years of life, I've decided that choosing not to know the truth is the more noble path. However, I now see that it isn't fair to force my opinion on Ange, who hasn't lived even 100 years.
So you're gonna leave it in Ange's care?
Yes. I will silently record it as it plays out.
If you're leaving it to Ange, the rest of this tale is pretty much set in stone, right?
So it would seem. Let it be so. After all, in the end, a tale that a child of man weaves for herself will be more fun than any story I could create.
Featherine's pulling off a George R.R. Martin. Well, when you put it that way.
In that case, why don't you lend a hand in Ange's tale? You've already given yourself a role in it, haven't you?
Oh, sorry, that's the other way around.
In that case, why don't you lend a hand in Ange's tale? You've already given yourself a role in it, haven't you? So is it my role to bring this tale to its conclusion? Come on, that's no way for someone in Bito's game to talk. It's your job to tear the guts out of the cat box. Hachijo chuckled, pushed aside the pile of writing paper, and picked up the book of the single truth. Then she opened a locked drawer. That is what Ange desires. Perhaps this book's seal is fated to be broken. Ange will reach the single truth that will break the seal on the cat box, and everything will then be exposed to the light of day. And so all those countless message bottles and fragments, made up of delightful imaginings, which have been scattered across the ocean of the internet, will fade away like a foam on the sea. After all, even that person is surely tired of such fragments. It's about time for that kid's journey to end too. Yes, let us accept this task. As our role demands, let's give this journey an end of the line. At that moment, there were sounds of someone in the hallway. The instant someone knocked on the door, Bern Castell turned back into a black cat. Madam Hachijo, please forgive me for interrupting. It was the voice of Hachijo's servant. What is it? If it's a phone call, tell them I'm busy. It isn't that. Toya-sama has woken up. Thank you. Prepare a light meal. Enough for the two of us. As you wish. Hachijo stood up. Then she shut the open drawer and locked it again. Inside that drawer lay a glittering golden key. Repeat it. The definition of a closed room prevents all varieties of entering and exiting. I refuse. By definition, it's impossible for a closed room murder to take place inside a perfect closed room. The chain might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The door might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The wall might have been repaired after it was destroyed. My closed room doesn't involve anything being repaired. Good. This really is getting fun, Badler-san. Sorry, but I don't have time to play with you right now. I'm sorry too, but as a fellow Witch of Truth, I can't let you get in Ange-san's way. Come to think of it, you're a Witch of Truth too, aren't you? I guess that makes you a sort of mentor to Ange. The single truth. It is the supreme, the ultimate. Only a Witch of Truth can break down all barriers that stand between her and that truth. Is this single truth of yours really so important? There are lots of things in this world that aren't worth knowing. How important is 1986 to Ange, really? It isn't important at all. You're probably right. No matter what happened or didn't happen in 1986, it won't change anything for the Ange living in 1998. There's no point in learning that truth. However, there is just one thing that will change. What's that? How she lives. Erika transformed her reasoning into a scythe blade and lashed out at Badler over and over. Badler also created a blade from his reasoning and attacked Erika over and over. In the middle of all this, he questioned Erika, the girl who, like Ange, called herself a Witch of Truth. Thanks for coming by, Sai. Have a good sleep. Take care. Hope you have a great day tomorrow. Thank you for coming by. Thanks for the raid again. Yeah, there's been so many good tracks tonight for the music. Funny enough, episode 8 actually adds the least amount of music to the game as completely new. Episode 8 only adds like 5 or 6 new tracks. All the rest of the music is just stuff that we've actually heard before. So if you like look up the Umineko tracks by episode, you'll see that episode 8 has very few. Just what is the point of exposing the truth? You're right. Knowing often changes how a person lives her life. In that case, I have one hope as her blood relative. I hope that at the end of my game, Ange finds a better way to live her life. Knowing may change how people live, but not always in a good direction. There are plenty of things in this world that you'd be more comfortable not knowing. The number of ticks living in the seats on a train. Those urban legends about nasty stuff in the tap water. The world's full of things you'd be better off not knowing. The Book of the Single Truth can probably teach Ange what happened on this island. What's the point of her knowing that? It'll just increase the sadness she's felt for 12 years. How many more years will it take for her to find happiness as an ordinary girl? How many years will it take for her wounds to be healed? Ange's desire to find the truth is hurting her, regardless of what the truth actually is. Though her deep wounds were slow to heal, they did begin to do so during those 12 years. However, Ange kept picking at the scabs. In her search for the truth, she tore at those wounds herself, opening them once more. It's time for Ange to be free of the sadness of 1986. That's what all of us Ushimias pray for. Who cares about that? The truth is everything. The truth is justice. It's a disease everyone gets at least once, usually in middle school. They just love to find out all the things adults are hiding. But don't you think it's fun to expose things like that? Yeah, totally. Reading dirty books wouldn't nearly be so fun if you didn't have to do it in secret. I deny all of your blue wedges with the red truth. None of the methods you suggest could defeat my closed room. Ange was breathing heavily. The Book of the Single Truth was right before her eyes. If she could just defeat Bito, she'd be able to take the book to Burncastel, and then she could read what was inside. Even though the truth of the final family conference on October 4th and 5th of 1986 was right there, the Golden Witch stood in her way. Her anger and hatred spun around inside her head, wiping out the composure necessary to theory-making. Anne shook her head several times, clearing away everything that got in the way of calming her mind. However, no matter how many times she thought it through, the closed room sealing her in the chapel was perfect. Ange wasn't particularly familiar with the mystery genre. However, she knew about all the fragments containing Bito's game so far. Her knowledge was shallow, but it should still be enough to give her a good foothold. However, no matter how many blue truths she shot at Bito, none of them even made the witch flinch. Bito just blew them apart with the red truth and an elegant wave of her pipe. It's about time you gave up. I don't even view this as a game between the two of us. Are you implying I could never solve this puzzle? I'm just buying time until Badler finishes dealing with Erica. He's the only one who can bring you to your senses. Bring me to my senses? You're the ones making me do this by hiding the single truth. That's why I'm fighting you. This is my right. As the final member of the Ushimiya family, I have a right to know the truth. Indeed. And that is the purpose of this final game. That's right. Without this final game, I wouldn't have been given a chance to read the truth. At least for that one thing, I'm grateful. But as for what happened in 1986, as for who took your relatives and your family away from you, as a human, your desire to know the truth is quite natural. However, even knowing this, Badler decided it would be best if you didn't return to 1986. I know what Oni-chan's trying to say. He's telling me to look to the future and live instead of being stuck in the past, right? Correct. Badler wanted to use this final game to show you that. In that case, there's no need to keep waiting for my answer. The answer's no, Golden Witch. I died back there in 1986. I've wandered about like a ghost for 12 years since then. And when Aunt Ava died, I lost my only reason to stick around on this earth as a ghost. That's why I decided to do one last thing before ending my life. And that thing is learning the truth of 1986. Yeah, got a problem with that? Of course I do, you foolish girl. It's So if you do reach the truth, you'll die? In that case, I can't let you have it. I must trick you and blind you as much as I can to keep you alive. Battler wants you to live. Living without truth is no better than dying. I'm trying to find the truth so I can live. You just admitted you were searching for the truth so you could die. Yeah, that's right. Then let me rephrase that. I'm trying to find the truth so I can die. I offer up my life when I made a contract with Kirostyle, and so I could learn what happened that day. The single truth would be the souvenir I take with me to hell. It's useless. You cannot break this closed room. This closed room is perfect, and yet I will kill you in this closed room. She had tried every theory, idea, and every bit of nonsense she could think of. However, none of it had any effect on Bito. Powerless and frustrated with the book of the single truth right before her eyes, Ange bit her lower lip. At first, this was supposed to be a game in which you were given a key that would let you decide your future. Liar. You want to hide the truth in this chapel and then make me choose a door that leads to some optimistic future. That's not a choice, you're trying to decide for me. Parents have a right to prevent their children from making unsuitable choices. I'm not a kid. I'm an 18-year-old woman who can think and act for herself. Fool. You're just a 6-year-old girl who can't think of anything except the past. And whose fault is that? Because of you, I've been stuck as a 6-year-old all this time. Now it's time for me to tear apart your illusion covering the truth. Yes, now that I think about it, it's not this chapel you've locked me inside. Since that day in 1986, for all these years you've had me locked away, in a closed room where I'm all alone, where no one will tell me the truth. And now I'll tear your closed room apart with my own hands. Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. I know the trick to your perfect closed room. Repeat it. You murdered me immediately after shutting me in this closed room. I refuse. Of course. You've been killing me for 18 years. Thanks, Beatrice. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have figured out the trick. Ange, you are young and you have a long future ahead of you. In fact, you are the Golden Witch who lives in the future, are you not? Then live on in the future. Just how much are past truths really worth? Don't they pale in comparison to the truth of the future, the truth you'll create for yourself? My life is trash. My whole family died, leaving just me behind. That's why I'm going back to them once I've gotten my single truth. If you learn the truth, you'll just have to accept your family's deaths. Haven't you ever thought about living on, hoping that by some miracle, one of them might have survived, and that someday you might get a chance to see them again? Night Ash, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have a good sleep and a good day tomorrow. Yeah, Ange looks fabulous as a witch. I like this outfit on her, it looks really good. I like a lot of the witch outfits in this game. I'm not worried about that. Even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment like that. In the Great Rokenjima explosion, almost none of the family's remains were recovered. Some days I hoped that this might be a sign they had escaped the explosion and survived. That hope gave me the strength to live on. However, that hope wasn't strong enough to support me for 12 long years. So even though I wanted to know the truth, I unconsciously averted my eyes. I felt that learning of my family's deaths for certain would force me to deny any possibility of someone miraculously surviving. But I'm tired of living on and on, with nothing but that impossible hope of a miracle to keep me going. That's why I decided to accept my family's deaths. I decided to accept the truth no matter what it is. That's why I became a Witch of Truth. How foolish to be blinded by the truth of the past and unable to see one's own future. Forgive me, Battler. I was not strong enough to guide your sister properly. A blazing blue wedge appeared in Ange's hand. Blazing blue, you say? It was long, thick, and shaped like a spear. Outfit change! This is the end, Witch of 1986. This closed room is perfect. Therefore I can't get out, and you can't lay a finger on me from the outside. However, you locked me into this room. So we can say you killed me with this simple trick. You shut me in this perfect closed room and made me starve to death. Since you intentionally did this, it's totally fair to say this is a closed room murder with you as the killer. It looks like being overly vague with the cause of death backfired on you. So long, Witch of Illusions. See you in hell. With a stained glass window behind her, Bito spread her arms and let the spear of blue truth pierce her. The blue spear seemed to crucify Bito against the window. Ugh. Game set. So this is Aunt Ava's diary, the book of the single truth. Ange picked the book up from where it lay on the altar, sealed in crystal. If you read that, then by your contract with Bernkastel, you'll die. Learning the truth just to die? Ridiculous. That's right. I'm looking for the truth so I can die. At least let me choose how I go. I'm not an idiot. I know the real me is still floating in that starry sky. Bernkastel acknowledged me as the final Beatrice and invited me on a journey to learn the truth of 1986. I won't be able to return here again. When Bernkastel told me that and walked off the roof into the black sky, I followed her into the empty air. That was the contract. I wanted two things from Bernkastel. One was for someone from my family to come back. The other was for revenge. I wanted to destroy the illusion of the witch that hid the events of that day. I wanted to reach the truth. However, the first of my wishes couldn't come true. After all, even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment where my family came home. So she wordlessly questioned me. She told me I couldn't reach the truth unless I had the courage to end this worthless life, where I lived like a ghost, hoping someone might come back. So she walked out into the open air and I followed her. Yes, now I can understand. When I offered to trade away my life, I made one wish and gave up on another. I wished for revenge against the illusion hiding the truth. Now I've succeeded in that revenge, defeating the master of that illusion and obtaining the book of the single truth. When I gave up, what I gave up was my naivety, my continuing belief that someone from my family might come back. And now I can accept that my entire family is dead. Can you make someone alive just because no one knows any different? These cat boxes you talk about are just naive delusions. The idea that a corpse can live as long as you keep it hidden. But even if you hide a corpse, it's still dead. Do you really think you could heal my wounds by saying they'll always be watching over me from the clouds like some kind of fairy tale? I'm Ange Beatrice, a witch of truth. I'll free myself from that life as a ghost, waiting for the miracle that'll never happen. I'll end my life as a noble martyr who's reached the truth. Thank you for the stretch, Armon. Very, very well timed. You guys at home, make sure you also take a time to stretch and sit up straight. Didn't you once come to understand the power of magic through Maria's grimoire? Yeah, I understood it. And then I despaired when I realized how powerless it was. And that's what Oni-chan is trying to force me to use now, isn't it? If I believe, if I use magic, then my family will always be by my side. Don't take me for a fool. You think that kind of magic, an illusion, a daydream can heal those 12 years? And how am I supposed to go on for decades and decades in the future? Someone come back to me, someone, but no one's coming back. So at least tell me what happened that day. Bernkastel said she'd tell me. My master, I have the book of the single truth. I'll take it back to you, so give me the truth. For so long I've been prepared to throw away my naive hopes for a miracle. Now tell me the truth of that day. Blinding light poured out from the chapel. It seeped out from the windows and the cracks of the door, even reaching as far as Badler's and Erika's eyes. What? It seems Comrade Ange has completed her task. It looks like you've set up some pathetic seal, but to my master, that'll be easier than thawing frozen sorry fish. Damn. Master said I could play with you until Ange finished her task. I've had enough fun from this reunion, so I think it's time for me to leave. Erika gave an elegant curtsy. Why'd you talk Ange into looking for the single truth? Your master must know. That truth doesn't mean anything to Ange. Yes, all truths in this world are meaningless. In the end, meaning comes from the mind of each individual human. Even when there is a single truth, it can mean different things to different people. The truth has no meaning in itself. There's just one reason why I'm still stuck on the truth despite it all. Because you're the detective. Good. But Ange-san isn't a detective. To her, the truth itself is the finish line. A way to mark the end of her unhappy life. Now she's finally finished the final purification ceremony. She's a one-night witch of truth, focused on learning a certain single truth before she dies. A temporary witch for the short time, until she slams against the ground. I won't let Ange die. No matter how tough it gets, she has to live. That's the only way all of us want. If she lives, all sorts of magic and miracles would be possible. If only you had your arm around her shoulder and told her that directly, you might not have lost. What do you think? Just by hearing you howl, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. Live, Ange! He yelled towards the chapel, but Ange probably wasn't even there anymore. Balor's yell was swallowed by the empty pitch-black sky and the sea of rampaging goats. Comrade Ava, our mission is complete. Let's withdraw. Oh, are we done already? And I was just about to tear the island apart with my own Ava culprit theory. Ava appeared in midair and cackled. Sorry, Badler-kun, that I wasn't strong enough. For 12 years I protected that kid in my own way. I'm grateful. However, she's decided this for herself. She's 18 years old now. Don't you think people should decide how they live their own lives? Sorry for being a doting big brother. Later. I'm Lady Burncastell's piece at the moment. It's time for me to go. I'll see you later, Comrade Ava. Ava held her palm open and a small, pointy blue fragment appeared there. The fragment burst, and with a blinding flash of light, Ava vanished. It was the same light that seeped out of the chapel earlier. Pieces cannot leave the game board. However, the Voyager witches alone could come and go. This was probably some sort of magic that Burncastel had given them. Erika opened her palm as well, and the same sort of fragment appeared there. That's enough for now, I think. Who knows, this might be the last time we meet. Wait, we haven't settled our fight yet. If he could steal the fragment in Erika's hand, he would be able to go to where Burncastel was. The seal surrounding the Book of the Single Truth would probably be easily melted with Burncastel's power. However, even so, it would take her some time. If he could steal that fragment, he would have a chance of bringing Ange back. What is there to settle? Time's up. However, if you feel like taking one last hit, I'd be happy to oblige. Badler had known that Erika wouldn't be able to resist the challenge. After all, he already knew what her trick was. He figured out just a second ago. Even while he spoke with Erika, he had been thinking about it inside his mind. He could finish her with his last strike and take the fragment. Let's go, Erika. This'll decide it. This clash will be the last before I go, so go ahead and give me the craziest of your hilarious theories. Your closed room definition stated that the walls, windows, floor, ceiling, and chain were all unbeatable. However, there was one possibility I didn't check, because it was too ridiculous. And that was whether or not the chain could be set from the outside. Huh? Blue Truth. This is the answer to your closed room. The length of the chain. The chain for your closed room was extra long, so it was possible to set it and unset it from the outside the room. What a ridiculous answer. However, if you blindly assume a lock made by an unbreakable chain makes a closed room unbeatable, then this truly would be a perfect closed room. The blue wedge flung from Badler's hand plunged straight into Erika's chest. As she winced in pain, her hand shook, and the fragment she held flew into the air. Your closed room definition stated that the walls, windows, floor, door, and chain were all unbeatable. However, wasn't there one really ridiculous thing missing? Blue Truth. Your closed room had no ceiling, so it was possible to enter by climbing over the wall. Erika's blue scythe swung out from behind her back, catching Badler in the side as he stretched his hand out towards the fragment. Badler's hand didn't reach it. The fragment returned to Erika's hands once more. It looks like our tricks were equally ridiculous. The mystery nuts would have been furious, don't you think? But I disagree. To me, the process of exposing that ridiculousness is ecstasy. That's why I'm Furuto Erika, the detective.
Damn it, you figured out the answer a while back, didn't you?
Not true. I thought it up between the time you let loose your Bluetooth and the time you stretched your hand out to grab the fragment. I've just been buying time since the beginning. I only started reasoning a second ago.
Yeah, Battler and Erika trying to out-BS each other. Basically.
Erika broke the crystal barrier that surrounded them. Then she flew high up into the sky, looking down on Battler and laughing at him as she gave a final bow. So long, Battler-san. Even if this has been my only time to shine. Even if I've outlived my usefulness and I'm about to be thrown back into the depths of oblivion, even so I have no regrets.
Wait! Like she'd actually wait just because I told her to.
With a blinding flash, Erika vanished. Ange had retrieved the Book of the Single Truth and returned to Burn Castell. Battler and the others had no way to leave the game board. Everything had come to an end. A gold butterfly flitted by and Bito appeared. My apologies, Battler. I let Ange get away. I'm sorry too. We've let them escape. It's all over. Battler had created this game for Ange. Now that Ange was gone, the game board no longer had any purpose. And even if that hadn't been the case, the game board itself had been chewed to bits by the goats. It was now like a single leaf floating on a sea of nothingness. Thanks to Gertrude and Cornelia's seals, the mansion was protected from the second floor up. The door to the Golden Land was now wide open enough for a child to slip through. The smaller people, like Maria and Sakataro, went through it. My friend, I believe the door's opening at a quicker pace. Indeed. To my eyes as well, it appears to be so. Father, is the door open yet? It looks like they're about to break in through the windows. Kurosama, there's no need for you to fear. An Eisern Jungfrau barrier is not so easily broken. Very soon it'll be big enough for adults to go through too. Don't worry, we'll make it in time. But there's knocking and banging everywhere and... Stay calm and wait. After all, there is nothing else we can do. Even the outer walls of the mansion were covered with goats, and they were plunging their fangs and fists into the walls and windows trying to crush them. So anyone watching the goats stuck to all the windows in the hallway, smashing their thick arms against the windows, couldn't help but be terrified, even if they knew about the barrier. However, anyone watching the group of goats gathered at the top of the big staircase on the other side of the barrier would probably feel a different emotion. Rather than terror, it was a sad, empty sort of emotion. The barrier was drawn across the landing at the top of the hall's great staircase. Beyond that barrier, everything had already been eaten away. Was it even possible for those who stood in the hallway of the upper floors to believe that this was the Rokonjima mansion? By now, no one looking at the scene would be able to imagine such a thing. Forget the hall or even the whole first floor. Even the ground itself was almost gone. The sea of goats had eaten everything apart long before this. They had eaten apart the hall, the pillars of the mansion, the floor, the ground, the sea, the very concept of the island itself. Every part of the game board Battler had created. And now the only leftover was the upper part of the mansion, which floated along in empty space. How pitiful. To what do you refer? The goats, in their eagerness to chew this island apart, have eaten up even the ground they stood on, dropping themselves into nothingness. This had once been a huge entrance hall. Beyond it had been a vast rose garden. There had been so many places to stand upon. However, now holes had been dug everywhere, and nearly everything outside the mansion was completely gone. Some goats were clutching to the few remaining footholds and pillars, still eating away at them. Let it be known that exposing the truth is murder. Why can't humans live without killing, I wonder? Throughout their long history, so many have prayed for miracles, but in the end, they eat up their own chances at receiving them, eating up the very ground they stand on and falling into the abyss. They saw a goat chewing the same pillar that it was holding up, which unsurprisingly fell into empty blackness along with the goat. Humans are sad creatures, fated to live in order to learn. If learning means eating away at the same hopes and dreams that keep you alive, that would mean humans are born just so they can die. We're taught that we have to live. However, almost everything that we accomplish in life ends up killing us. Don't think about it. You'll just get a headache. As a single human, I want to ask, is learning a sin? Is living in ignorance the only way we can have hopes and dreams? Both living with knowledge and living in ignorance have their benefits, as well as their shortcomings. You're even free to choose which path you take. That's what makes humans powerless. While people can learn, they cannot unlearn. And so the all-knowing God has stepped in for the sake of humans who cannot unlearn, marking out things that should be learned and things that should not be learned. Too much curiosity can kill your hopes and dreams. Humans are pitiable beings who are unable to simply avoid those things which should not be learned. Lord Battler can hardly be blamed for failing to teach Ange this. And now Ange is gone. This game is over. Struck dumb by Will's words, everyone fell silent. Only the sound of the goats eating everything away rang out hollowly. Even if they escaped the Golden Land, the goats of emptiness would probably chew into that realm as well. Even if they got away for the time being, nothing would be resolved. It was all set in stone now. They had no way to resist the future's violent attempts to tear the catbox of the past open. In that case, we must stay alive. If a human's foolishness makes them throw away their own hopes and dreams in the end, then I want to believe in those things until the last second. Her resolve is impressive. I'm the one hope held by Beatrices of a million worlds. So even at times like this, I have to be everyone's hope. I'm not giving up on this game yet. By which you mean, I'll keep waiting, believing in a miracle until the last second. So you'll keep struggling on and on until it's all over. That's right. After all, last time when we were surrounded by that pack of terrifying cats, we were prepared for death, weren't we? But Lambda Delta-san saved us. If we had given up, if we hadn't had the strength to believe in a miracle, then I'm sure we would have been erased before help could come. Well, it's not like I really saved you, more like Byrne just failed to kill you properly. Or it might have been some whim of hers. A miraculous whim from the Witch of Miracles. How long had she been there? Lambda Delta was leaning on the handrail of the staircase, eating popcorn. She held a cup of popcorn out, but Leon declined the offer. Badlerkin told us. He said Anne-chan made a contract by which she would learn the truth in exchange for her own life. Going by your conversation just now, that was no contract. After all, living and seeking the truth so they can die is what humans do anyway, right? In other words, Anne just spent all of her life trying to learn the truth. All Byrne did was shorten that time to a single instant. When Anne-chan lost her hopes and dreams, she stopped valuing her own life. How could she be given hopes and dreams again? What can be done to help her find a reason for living? Are you asking me? I'm paper, right? Double twisted, curly super paper. I don't understand complicated stuff. After tossing the last bits of popcorn into her mouth, Lambda Delta threw the empty cup into the abyss of nothingness. Byrne wasn't really pushing that kid to do something she didn't want. She was giving Ange a chance. Or should I call it a choice? Then Ange made the choice she wanted, appeared on the game board, and now in her game against Badler, she's making her own choices again. From start to finish, Ange's game has always belonged to Ange. Right now, I'm just a casual observer. So not a particularly enthusiastic observer. Maybe. It's a play with an obvious ending, so I've decided I might as well take my leave. You mean you'll stop watching a play just because you think you know how it'll end? Even though it might reach a climax you didn't expect. Lambda Delta licked her salty fingers. And then she stared at Leon challengingly and grinned. I know that Anja's game will end this way. I know Badlerkin's feelings will reach her. She'll understand that he wants her to live in a better future, and she'll choose that future of her own accord. I'm certain that's how this tale will end. Huh? Are you talking to me, the Witch of Certainty, and saying the outcome is certain? That's right. I guarantee it. Anne Shan's game won't end like this. So please don't leave your seat. We won't leave either. There must be something we can do. And that will surely lead her to a better future. This tale will definitely have a happy ending. So keep watching until the end. I beg you. Even though I've already announced as the Witch of Certainty that this tale won't have a happy ending, the definition of a happy ending is something everyone watching gets to decide for themselves, right? For a while, there was a tense silence. With a confident gaze that seemed to be saying, "Are you serious?" Lambda Delta stared at Leon. However, Leon's eyes didn't even twitch. For some time, they both stared at each other's eyes without flinching. Ha! Suddenly, Lambda Delta let out a large sigh and stretched. Well, I have nowhere better to be. Sure, I'll stick around a bit longer. If you get me some popcorn, that is. I'm feeling like caramel flavor this time. If you come to the Golden Land, we'll serve you as much as you like. Lambda Delta waved at them with a thin smile. No one was quite sure what this meant, but it apparently signified her surrender in her own way. Okay. If you'll guarantee your own flavor of happy ending with certainty, then I, the great Lambda Delta, will stick around for a while longer. See how big my heart is. As wide as Lake Biwa. That's pretty thin, actually. And as gentle as the Sea of Japan. That is a very rough sea. Please allow us to speak. It would seem she meant it the other way around. There was some muffled laughter. Lambda Delta is the witch who gives strength to those who possess unshakable willpower. Leon believed in a happy ending, and that a certain enthusiasm might have been enough to earn a small miracle from Lambda. You'd better not let me get bored, okay? If you do, I'll leave right away. Of course. I'm sure Badlerkin would be glad to welcome you as well. Leon understood. In order to fight back a bit against Kirostyle, who had taken Ange outside the board, they would need the power of another who was capable of leaving the board. Their last hope was to make sure Lambda Delta didn't abandon this game. However, judging by Lambda Delta's expression as she hummed to herself cheerily, actually asking her for help was probably going to be a problem. Look, Zepper! Everything from the first floor down is gone! What a spectacle! Not a sight you see every day! How have matters progressed upstairs? Ah, right, we came here to tell you that. Hey everyone, sorry to keep you waiting. They say the door to the Golden Land is opened. Finally. Let us go. This place will not be safe for long. Everyone who had been sitting on the staircase got up. I guess this is goodbye, Rokenjima the Beautiful. True. It may be a shadow of its former self, but this is the last time we'll see it, isn't it? What's with that gloomy attitude? Come on, show me, okay? Let's see a happy ending. Nice job, Leon. You convinced Lambda Delta. Let's have a look at all the character profiles, because now that we actually have like meta world characters, things have changed. So here's our human characters, of course, plus human Beatrice. So of course up top we have Lambda Delta, Kirostyle, This icon is for like all of Beatrice's furniture, so we have like Vergilia, Ronov, Gap. We have Lord Battler and his wife. It took you a while to notice Bernkastell's a tail. Yeah, it's hard to tell because we usually only see her from the waist up, right? It's also interesting how, with the PS3 sprites, she started off with her hair down like this, and then now it's like blowing a little bit behind her, which gives her sprite a little bit more of a dynamic to it. Yeah, Beatrice has now achieved the same status as Platt's wife from Octopath Traveler 2. We have Ange, Beatrice. Of course, Erica's back. This symbol here is for the Seven Sisters. I'll just assume that we've cycled through all of them. It doesn't seem to go in order. Ava Beatrice is back. It's really interesting how Ava Beatrice has her role, because when we first met her, she was just a tool of Beatrice's to basically fool Battler. Then the next time we saw her, she was basically Ava in like battle mode. And then now she's like a personification of the 12 years between 1986 and 1998, which really suits, like, now that we know that she survives, the reason why she exists in that capacity. You have the Chester sisters, or the Chester Corps. There's actually a fourth Chester, but she only appears in like some of the optional side stories. But she's like a purple one, and she's supposed to represent one of the bunny toys that Rosa destroyed. Here's Delanor and her subordinates. Again, I really like Delanor's character. I really don't like her design. And when I look at her full body, it just makes me dislike her design more. But like personality-wise, she's great. Wait, there's a next button down here. Did anyone else have a next button? Gertrude. Where's Cornelia? Come out, Cornelia. Cornelia and Gertrude actually have interesting profiles if you actually read. Yeah, I like when Delanor takes out like the tiny little blue sword and the giant metal gauntlet and their big red sword. Netherine joins us over here too, looking a bit stern. Notice that her human version doesn't exist in the game system menu. We have all of the goats, who are very ripped, very buff. Also, I guess the goats are interesting too in the way they've brought the goats back, but now they have they represent something different than when we first saw them. We have Will and Leon together, boyfriends, or I guess Leon's non-binary or some sort, so boyfriends or whatever you want to call it, I guess. Happy these two survive. Will, of course, is cool as usual. Always neat to see him fight. Best character in Umineko. And then we have Furfur, of course. And Zephyr. Alright. things are getting really interesting. We probably are going to be able to finish this game in 2 more streams. That's approximately how much stuff there is left to go. Probably like under 8 hours worth. Probably closer to like 7 hours, I think. It took an interesting turn here. We got past Burn Castell's game, but now we have this whole scenario here. They've laid out like a lot of the symbolism. This whole game as being a metaphor for whether Ange wants to find the truth or not and whether she'll die or not afterwards. I really like, of course, I like all the scenes with fighting in Umineko, because again, it's so wacky and weird, but somehow still follows all the rules that they've already like set out for us. It's really interesting, and of course the characters are always very like dynamic in that sense. Like now Lambda Delta's like helping us, for example, and Ange has kind of turned against Badler. Erica's back, Ava Beatrice is back. The whole gang is here. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. I can't believe we're getting closer to the end. Thank you for coming and joining me, and thank you for sitting back and relaxing, watching, listening. Again, like I really like Umineko. I think it has a lot of really interesting allegory, a lot of interesting like symbolism, characters, complexity to it. It is very, very long though. It has great music though. So it's not really often I get to share something like this with people in a way that, in a capacity where they can actually appreciate it, I suppose. So I appreciate it. Let's find someone to raid. Looks like JJ's streaming. He's streaming Project Zomboid with Inazuma. They're playing together, so let's go and check in on them. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it too. Let's go cheer them on. Thank you so much again for coming. Stick around for a raid. Tomorrow will be Final Fantasy 16. We're gonna do the Chronolith trials, and then the day after, Saturday, will be more Umineko, and then we should be able to finish it sometime next week, depending on when I schedule the next stream after that. So stick around. Lots of stuff to come. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.